Second place finish.
Yeah, I got to shout out the Turn 2 Terror Boards over there. They're all a bunch of good guys to hang out with, talk to. I really like them.
What's going on out there? It's the Turn 2 Terribles podcast. I am Jimmy here. I am with Chris. I'm with Josh. And back for another round again. It's Jeremy Zarfos over here. We are the Turn 2 Terribles podcast. We're here back for episode 12. We got a lot to talk about this week. We got NASCAR at Richmond as the NASCAR playoff picture is really starting to take shape and the regular season's coming to a close. We'll preview Watkins Glen next week. And a couple other NASCAR topics. Texas and Auto Club getting reconfigured. Texas potentially. No schedule release yet, which is kind of late in the year. And then we're also going to recap the Knoxville Nationals. Biggest week of sprint car racing pretty much in the year. A lot to talk about there. And then we'll also preview, the races coming up. And then we got Drink It and Dump It. So just welcome on in. Thanks for everybody who is watching out there and has been checking us out. It's really appreciated. When you guys got a comment or something, don't be afraid to shove it in the chat and argue with us a little bit. First, Chris, welcome back. You were here in spirit last week.
Yeah.
How was it?
Not bad, Nothing wrong with sitting by a fire watching the podcast and interrupting at the end for sport. But it was a good week, camping all week. Just kind of relaxing.
Awesome. Josh, how are you doing?
Good. Ready? It was a good weekend of racing.
Hell yeah.
Good racing. The first time maybe ever that I'm actually excited for the Glen.
Awesome. I'm excited too. Jeremy, how are you doing? Welcome back. You're basically becoming a regular now here, so it's much appreciated. You bring some great takes, and it's great to see you as always.
I'm going to take the Josh Aaron perch. Good.
And that's what we have him here for, boys.
My guy, man of many words. I'm glad Chris is back. Didn't get lost in the woods. Mildly better signal this week and slightly less intoxicated, I think.
So far. I just started.
Good to see you back, buddy. Appreciate you guys having me again.
Well, this works out, though. See, Jimmy and I talk too much, and Josh just kind of is our attenuator. He just brings it in, doesn't have to talk.
He sits there and shakes
He
his
says he says the smart stuff.
There you go.
All right, well, let's get into it. Kevin Harvick wins back-to-back races. He takes it down at Richmond in a very Richmond race. Ross Chastain gets into it a little bit with Kyle Busch. Ty Gibbs and Kyle Busch have a great battle throughout the race that was definitely telling of maybe what the future is. It wasn't bad overall. The racing wasn't bad. The cars had multiple lines to run. But it was just long green flag runs. You're getting to the point where you had 12, 13 cars on the lead lap, which isn't bad necessarily, in my opinion, but just something with these next gen cars on short tracks doesn't seem to be gelling well. But we could get into that. Well, Chris, you didn't watch the race. You had to hear me bitch about it. So, Josh, what did you think of the race?
I think you said it perfect. It was a Richmond race. I mean, the first two stages were super boring. The only good part about it was when they got, the last couple cautions and kind of changed up the whole field. But other than that, I mean, it wasn't a good race. I haven't seen the Pockrass tweet yet, but I'm sure this is probably one of the worst. It's probably with the other Richmond race, one of the worst ones of the year.
The Jeff
as far as
Gluck poll?
viewership.
Yeah, the Jeff Gluck one.
Oh yeah, the Jeff Gluck. That's right.
Yeah.
Jeremy, what did you think?
Honestly, I think it was better than the spring race. I think having the top line show up and they weren't expecting it early with early tire runs, having guys just be able to blast around the top was kind of cool. There was tire wear, there was altering strategies, there wasn't a lot of cautions, which created this short pit or splitting things in half and other guys going longer. It really created some cool comers and goers and big speed differences. And those guys as a leader sitting there going, this guy's blowing by me 3 seconds a lot faster, was kind of a wild scene, right? Seeing those like kind of that dynamic. I looked at that race, and Richmond is one of my favorite tracks, and it's had good races over the years. This race was, I think, better than the spring race. But Denny actually, I can't believe I'm agreeing with him, but said it after the race about, like, if you're looking for side by side, bumping and bang, this is not the track. This is short track racing, but it's not physical. I thought that was kind of right. But I think as long as there's tire wear and they do get the green flag runs, you can have some of the strategy stuff play out. I don't know if Harvick was the best car all day, but he was there again when it mattered and did it right. So it's just one of those races for me. I was entertained.
Kyle Keene says we're all his heroes. Thank you so much. Kyle Keene's our hero over here. Yeah, I agree with everything. I felt like the only thing I kind of disagree with there is I didn't feel like there was a lot of pit strategy going. Only in the second stage where the stage was a little bit longer, but even in the final stage where the stage was the longest, I didn't feel, maybe it was because of the cautions. I'm not sure, but I didn't feel like there was really the most off pit strategy had was some guy staying out about 6-7 laps later. So I there were comers and goers, but not as much as you would expect. And I just didn't think it played as much. It played a little bit of a factor for sure, but I mean, because we saw Christopher Bell come at the end because he was on a little bit fresher tires. But yeah, I agree. I think the weather changing towards the end of the race, it started getting darker, it got really cloudy, and I think that affected more than some of the pit strategy. That's what it sounded like, at least with some of the guys talking about their cars. Harvick alluded to it, that his car came on when the sun went down. Logano said his car, who dominated, he led over half the race. His car went away once the sun went down. So it was interesting, though. It was more interesting than the spring race. I'll agree.
Yeah, I think Kevin Harvick was going to run. I think Junior even said it on the thing. Kevin Harvick was going to run a Kevin Harvick race. He was going to get on the bottom, and he was not leaving the bottom. And it wasn't fast until it started getting dark. And then when track cooled off, that outside line just kind of faded, and it became a race at the bottom. And you're not going to beat Kevin Harvick running bottom all the way around the track.
Yeah,
Chris, you got to listen to it, right? You didn't get to see it.
Yeah. I saw the first 20 laps and then had to go do things. So I listened to it on the radio and followed on Twitter. Sometimes I thought it was interesting. The radio obviously always makes it sound a million times more interesting because that's their job. But I think they hit it right. Like the one cycle, I know Bubba Wallace and Ryan Blaney pitted for tires, and they were the first cars there, and they made pretty decent runs up into the top 10, and then it kind of stalled out. And then Blaney doing that. I think he's one of the first cars to pit on that green flag run then, which was kind of odd. It seemed like more, though, some of the temper started boiling over. Like, guys were having bad days, like Ross Chastain and Kyle Busch, and it was Ty Gibbs. Like, it seemed like some of those people that were a couple laps down, were frustrated. They started just beating and banging with guys, and that added a little spice to it. But I mean, Richmond is not my favorite short track. Even with the old cars, it raced more like intermediate to begin with. You couldn't get aero damage. I think Bristol will be an interesting short track concept for the car, but Richmond it's Richmond. It's a rhythm type racetrack. You need clean air. Like look at Ross Chastain led the first 40 laps, I think it was, 60 laps. Just clean air. Got the lead and ran away, and then next thing you know, he's 2 laps down.
Yeah. So you mentioned Chastain there. Jimmy's a big fan. I think anybody's listening to the show, it's one of Jimmy's least favorite people. And I've backed him up, and I've been like, hey man, this guy's aggressive. He does not give a flying F. Okay. And it showed again this week, and it's getting harder and harder to defend, or it's getting harder and harder to be like, okay, yeah, cool. It's every week. I mean,
in the incident, but in that case with Kyle Busch, I saw on Twitter some talk where it looked like he wasn't necessarily doing typical Chastain stuff. It looked more like he was outside of Ty Gibbs, moved up, and just caught Kyle Busch. Now, I think he's getting the hate from the Gibbs teams and everyone because of what he's been doing, and you kind of build your own grave in that. But I don't think that was a typical Ross Chastain type thing, the way he took care of Kyle Busch.
That one to me, I feel bad for Chastain now because he's just going to get shit from everybody. Kyle Busch came down on him coming out of the turn.
And you look at Michigan. You had Michigan. Bell moved up on.
He was trying to be the nice guy and leave the bottom open because he knew Stenhouse was down there. Kyle Busch came down on him.
Josh, he knew what he was doing. He started smiling as soon as it started talking. But it's the same thing as Michigan. He got all the blame for turning Bell, and Bell clearly left the lane and decided that he didn't want to leave the lane anymore and wrecked himself. But Chastain got the blame for that because his nose was there. It's like, yeah, you can lift. I get it.
Yeah, I don't think he got the blame at all for Michigan, and he didn't deserve to necessarily.
Not nearly as much as
this one.
But I think they're very much the same.
He could have gotten. I think the Michigan thing, everybody kind of saw what Bell did and put that more on Bell than anything. The only thing people gave Chastain for in Michigan was, did you need to do that right there? Did you have to be that aggressive? And it ruined his race and Bell's race, right? And I don't think Chastain intended that for that at all. It just happened to be a Gibbs car again. If Ross knew in Michigan, it would have ruined his race too. I don't know if he does it. I don't know. Maybe sounds like maybe he would have, but this one I don't know, man.
I think
no one else did that.
Here's a take with Chastain. He's always been hyper aggressive, driving shitbox cars, mid 15 to 30 place cars, trying to make a way. He's finally got a competitive car, and he now doesn't need to do that as much, and he's still learning that. To some degree, he's an aggressive driver, but he doesn't think everyone from the outside that's detached looking at Ross, why'd you do that? You were going to blow his doors off on the backstretch. In his head, race mentality, I got to do it now. And that's what's got him in a lot of trouble this year, is not realizing the bigger picture with his car and how fast it is.
For sure.
It's his first year in a good car, except for the calling car, which was a top 10 car back then. So, Jimmy, you get ready to go. Just
I know it. I've been waiting on it.
You can see his face.
Go ahead, Jimmy. All right, let's give it to us.
So, honestly, first of all, rip the cushion over here with Crashtain. I am forever going to use that now.
I almost said it by accident earlier.
Crashtain that's really what he is right now. And it's, what I just heard a lot right now from you guys that are kind of defending him is just a lot of excuses, because you don't have this problem with any other driver. There's aggressive drivers, there's conservative drivers. They're not getting into incidents every week. It's just not happening. I don't put this one. I put blame on him on this wreck this past week, but there were 3 wide. Kyle Busch came down a little bit. Chastain gave the 42 a little too much room. He could have went down a little bit. Either way, they're 3 wide. Somebody's there's got to back out. Something's going to happen. At the end of the day, it comes down common denominator, and that is Crashtain. That's who it is. And he's got to figure it out, because he's just you said the Gibbs cars are his biggest enemy. Kyle Larson didn't want to deal with him last week. I think Chris Buescher said something about him this past week. It's even when they're not getting into crashes, they're having problems with him the way they race on the track. He's got to figure it out. And he's been in good equipment for a couple years now. Ganassi was still better than anything else he was in. He was with Colleague. He should know by now. And God save us all. There's another Chastain coming in the Truck Series. He made his debut in God save us all.
But it wasn't that many years ago. Joey Logano in the 22 car was in the same exact situation where every week he was getting into somebody in the whole garage trying to kick his ass.
Joey Logano?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's still that way. He's still one of the most hated drivers in the garage area. He's not to the level he was. He's not getting in fights every week on pit road. He's not having a melee at Texas. He's figured out a little bit how he can race like a jerk, but he's not. I'm not saying that Chastain can't figure it out. I'm saying
halfway through the season.
He has to.
But at the same time, Joey Logano earned a lot of those guys' respect too. Eventually,
won the championship.
I don't know.
Chastain's not getting any respect from these. I love Chastain because Chastain's he's an old school racer. You give him an inch to put his nose in there, he's putting his nose in there. That's the way they go watch any old Dale Earnhardt race. I mean,
Dale Earnhardt's great. You can't compare anyone to him. He didn't do anything wrong.
So
praise Dale.
I don't think Chastain's getting any respect from these other guys either. So I don't think he's going to drive them with respect.
There's a difference though with taking an inch and just flat out missing corners and wrecking guys and destroying their race cars. I don't think. Yeah, Dale Earnhardt did that a little bit. Obviously the most famous one is Terry Labonte, but that's for winning the final corner. That's totally different. That's not lap 150 of 400. It's last lap at Bristol in the last corner. That's a lot different.
This all started at what? Coda
on the last turn.
On the last corner when he just tried to take Allmendinger out into the ballpark.
And everybody applauded him for it. Everybody loved him.
What's the difference now? Other than it keeps happening. Yes, he has to figure it out.
It's not on the last lap. That's the difference.
He's making these races fun, boys. Making them fun, causing chaos. Chaos corner. Get a Ross Chastain diecast in your chaos corner, bud.
Nope. Yeah, this is like chaos.
I'll drop one off when I go to Bloom sometime.
Definitely the chaos corner back here, except for Jordan Gibler. Shout out Jordan Gibler.
But he has Dakota. That's chaos.
That is true. Dakota Kuhn is definitely chaos in a bottle. Any other thoughts on Chastain and Kyle Busch? I don't want to linger on this because it's an every week topic.
I think Chastain came into this year with respect from all the shit boxes he drove the last few years and didn't do this stuff. But he quickly has said, "Hey, I'm here, everybody. Guess what? I ain't going nowhere. I'm here." And he can have a stretch of 6, 7, 8 weeks here, finish the season, playoffs. I don't think it'll take that long, but I think that it's just been consistent. It's been every week something that, even Kyle Busch 3 wide in the position, it's him, right? He's that common denominator. So right now everyone's on edge and going up, Chastain, right? No matter what he does, that can calm down, but he also knows they're looking. Everybody's looking. Where's he at? What's he doing?
I can tell you to that point, if we're in Phoenix and he's in the Final Four and he's in second, I would not want to be that cat in first.
If he's at 14th, I don't want to be the 13 guys ahead of him.
Well, either way, if we're in Phoenix, because you know how it is, all 4 of them are going to be up there. I don't want that scenario if I'm one of those other 3 guys. So,
is there anybody else in the field that anybody would think that of?
Joe Logano.
He blocks everybody. He don't run them over.
Nah, he does. I mean,
Chase Briscoe.
Martinsville for Truex, he's done it.
But not to this level. Even still, yeah. I mean,
Joey Logano's been. I would say that.
I wouldn't want him there.
The first. The Earnhardt shit was blasphemy. The closest thing would probably be Logano. That's probably the perfect comparison. And I hate Joey Logano, so I'm probably always going to hate Ross Chastain. And listen, I respect people for racing hard, but it's pick your spots. Joey Logano's gotten better in picking his spots and when to race like an asshole. I think that's why he gets a little bit more respect. Chastain's got to pick his spots a little bit more wisely. And, and I think it goes beyond just wrecking. Like, I know I go back to Michigan last week when, Larson was trying to work with him so they could get away from the field. Chastain was having none of it. And just that type of stuff. It's like it's one thing to bump into somebody all the time, but it's another thing when you're just racing them. How other drivers are viewing as dirty. So,
don't you ever put Logano and Earnhardt in the same sentence again? You'll be
no, I'm that's what my point is. Separate the two.
Oh, thank
Well,
God.
I'm saying don't put Chastain and Earnhardt in the same
Earnhardt was
sentence
only brought
again.
up just to rile you up, bud.
Yeah, that's blasphemy. Chastain and Logano, those are pretty good comparisons in terms of how they drive on the track and how they approach it.
So, scale 1 to 10, how entertained were you by the Gibbs Kyle Busch deal?
I was on that was the most entertaining thing all race.
I mean, it was only a few laps, but
it was a
that was
couple
about as
laps
good as it gets, right?
It was like 15 laps. It was a while.
That's true because they separated a little bit and then
they came back.
Yeah.
It was that in the first half, in the first two stages, that was by far the most entertaining thing. The last stage got a little bit dicey, but the first two stages were kind of drawn out and everything, and that was like really the main battle on the track.
So if I heard correctly, the Kyle Busch thing and Ty Gibbs, Kyle Busch moved him out of the way, and then the following corner, Gibbs just came back and said, "See ya." Get the hell
They
out
raced
of the way.
they raced side by side.
Well, I'm saying at one point though, Busch bumped him out of the way.
The start of that, I think it almost looked like Ty chopped him a little bit, and Kyle said, "No, I'm going to move you here." Just bumped him up out of the track, and then next corner, Ty came back and gave it right back to him, and did the same thing. And then they raced side by side for the longest time, and
I think that's big.
it was like literally like KB. To me, it looked like Gibbs actually did chop him just a little bit, and KB said, "Nope, ain't going to happen here, rookie." Moved him literally down the backstretch into 3. I think it was into 3, the opposite corner. Like it didn't even take 2 laps to get there. The opposite corner, Ty did the exact same thing and moved him out of the way. I
think that's huge
awesome.
for Ty Gibbs. That's huge. I think that's going to build a lot of things. I mean, you already have you had Suarez come out and say he's been okay, not great, which is sure, fair. But to get that respect, they're going to bang you. You got to be able to dish it back to them to do the opposite of Ross Chastain, and don't wreck them when you do it, and not be afraid to just go in and be like, hey, boom, get out of there.
And I think Ty's proven over and over again he's not afraid to back. He's not going to back down to anybody. I mean, like he can get their respect by doing one of 2 things. One is staying out of messes, and 2, don't let people walk all over you. Like he can do both as long as he doesn't go over the edge and start creating his own messes, right? Like kind of like the Ross deal. This kid can be aggressive, but don't get walked on. Don't get pushed around. If you have a good enough car, if you have a crap car and you get moved out of the way because you're in the way, okay, do your race. But if you have a good car and you feel like someone moved you, you can't get walked on. And he impresses the hell out of me, to be honest. What do you think, Josh?
He would again a billion times. I'll say it a billion times next year. If he would be my favorite driver, if I never watched interviews, he'd be my favorite driver. But
like Donald Trump,
he did also go blow his engine. He didn't finish the race. He did blow his engine.
How did he blow his engine?
Did he blow his engine though, or was that a part failure? Like,
can
you really put that on tight?
Right. Was it a cold trickle, peg the engine out to get out of the race car? He was scared of it. I don't even
think he was smoking when he pulled in.
No, it wasn't. Another interesting
some ice cream, man. It was time for church.
Right. Interesting thing about that is the Dale Jr. when Ty Gibbs was on there, he talked about Kyle Busch kind of giving him that big brother moment and talking with him and kind of mentoring him a little bit, and now he's out on the track beating and banging Kyle Busch. So I mean I think his ascension, it's going to be a long time before you ever see anybody do it at the level and as quick as he's going to do it.
He's already done it. I mean, when we were at Pocono, he sat in the car for the first time when the green flag dropped and managed to lurk his way up to 15th, 17th, I think, before the DQs. 10th place. What, at Michigan? Was it 10th?
Mm-hmm.
The 15th before.
Let him run this week for Kurt Busch. See what he does. I mean, he absolutely dominated Xfinity. On road courses. This week. I think at one point in Xfinity,
he won his first career start.
He had ran 4 road courses.
Xfinity is different than Cup.
He led every lap but one on his first 4 road courses in Xfinity.
Allmendinger was there for those. It's not that different. Competition's competition.
Right.
Dinger, Cindric, they both were there for those last year.
Dinger and Cindric were there for those last year, correct?
And they were both in good cars, and obviously, you look at every time Dinger races anything in Cali, he's always up there.
I feel like the gap this year with the next gen car is so much. The field's tighter because nobody's figured it out. I think in Xfinity you've had more time to figure it out, and you have you have the teams that are. So I think that helps a little bit. Was my only point for why he won. You know, he still. I'm not trying to take away. That's still huge. I'm just not saying that Ty Gibbs is going to go out and win his first Cup road course start.
Well, no. Hey, who knows? But I'm just saying, like, he didn't come into Cup driving a mid-tier car.
Never.
Right. 2311 is still like. I mean,
at this point, they're performing right. They're basically performing right there with Gibbs.
You're getting into. He's getting into equipment like that. I never expected him to even finish 10th at Michigan. And to be honest with you, you know,
it was even straight up too. It wasn't even a mileage strategy thing, right? It was just straight up.
And he was better than that because he actually had a penalty that he said he was probably a top 5 car. But you know, we'll see this weekend if Kurt's there or not. At this point, I don't see any reason for Kurt to jump in if he doesn't have to. So let him drive it.
I think he needs. I was just gonna get into that. He needs to get in the car because he's losing points.
Yeah, but how many? He should be.
He was like 180 ahead coming into this week, or something like that. And you know, it's most you can win or lose is 60 points, I think, a week, or something like that. I could be wrong. I just know it was like he wasn't clinched in on points if something were to happen where there's 16 winners, because it was like with 3 races to go, he had like a 2.5 race cushion. He's something like that.
He's last place of winners right now in 15th, right?
He's probably fine if he gets back out there and runs, but
or no winners.
Yeah, or no winners. But
that's risky.
I think he needs to get in the car before the playoffs. Or there's no real point because I think it's going to take him a week or two, and Watkins Glen's going to be a hell of a place to try to come back at. You know what I mean? You know,
both of them are at this point.
Yeah. I mean, Watkins Glen and Daytona is going to be an absolute crapshoot.
And God forbid, if I was in Daytona, I'm riding in the back with him. If I'm him, I'm just not even trying. Let them
just getting seats in the race car because God forbid he gets in another wreck the week he comes back.
But let's think about concussion. This. If we get to 16 winners, why come back for Daytona? He's 16.
In case.
I mean, but if he rides around in the back, what's he gaining?
But if we get a new winner this week, which I think is a very real shot, whether it be Blaney, Truex, or otherwise, he's the 16th guy. Yeah. I think there's an equally good shot. There's a 17th winner at Daytona.
Right. And then he's out because he won't have points.
Right.
Right. So if he's not back this week, then there's no. Right. If he's not back that's why I was asking how far back is it even worth coming back.
No.
This week.
He would have to come back and win a race to make sure to guarantee he's in.
So he's actually 12th in points right now. He's ahead of his brother Kyle.
Yeah, let's say Kyle, Bowman, and Cindric.
They all have.
He's missed 4 races now.
I mean, according to this,
that's the grid, though. I don't know.
That's playoff points.
That's playoff points. So we need to see the actual points of those.
But that would be how they would line up for playoffs if it's
right. And that's fine. That's the reset. Cut line for points. I saw a stat at the end of the race the other on Sunday, and it had like 2 dashes beside his name. It didn't even have a plus minus.
Yeah, because I don't know how they're scoring it and how they're going to handle this.
Well, they're not
the only time they scored is if they're out or on the front if they don't have a win. So he was shown as the last in car, no plus or minus, and then the guys behind, like the 16th place car, which would be points, was a plus, and 17th was a minus. But actual regular season points, like you said he's falling. I mean, he has to be almost 30th.
Well, he won't fall out of the top 30 because he was locked into that. But
he's 21st on regular season points right now.
And how far behind the other winner, Cindric, I guess would be.
He's still ahead of Bowman and Cindric.
That's wild. That just goes to show how shitty of a season Bowman had and how shitty.
Well, remember Bowman and Cindric both got like no points the last few weeks. Yeah. So Cindric wrecked at Michigan, So he probably only scored like 4. They're not getting stage points.
But he's
Bowman
probably
went a stretch of like 3 or 4
Yeah.
races that he didn't finish.
He might as well not have shown up. Yeah.
But
I mean,
if
he
Kurt
played
Busch
last.
doesn't race this week, I bet you Bowman and Cindric get ahead of him. They're probably, if they're within 40 points, they go ahead of him.
They're within 1 point.
Yeah.
So
So
there
he
you
needs to
go.
get the
They're
car.
tied. They're tied at 2006, and he's got 2007.
So he needs to get in there before the end of the regular season. There, I also think he just needs to get in there to God forbid you have another like something like a Dale Jr. situation or something where it's like he gets in the car and he's like, man, I'm not ready. I can't.
You also got to get your groove back. I mean, as you know, as a team, I think you want to go into the playoffs with the best chance of let's get a win and get a guarantee early. I think you want to have your team firing on all cylinders and everybody working together, and doing all these other guys are going to be going through the same flow they do every week, and I think him being out of the car is going to upset that flow. And their whole operation right now with Ty Gibbs, that team has completely changed their mentality. Right now, it's just like, hey, let's just help this kid. They're not saying
They
let's
got to
win
get
this
going
race.
too.
They're saying let's just help this kid get better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I and not just that. I mean, the first playoff race is Darlington. You've been out of the car for 6 weeks. Say if you miss the next 2, 6, 7 weeks almost, and your first race back is Darlington to start the playoffs. That's a tough one to come back to. I think you want to, even if it is just riding in the back at Daytona, you get your feet under you. You know what I mean? I think he has a good shot at coming back at Watkins Glen this week. It sounded like he was pretty close, just wasn't 100% there. But I think he's got to get in there. Just 1 to possibly make it, and 2 just to get his group back if he does make the playoffs. So we all hope that Kurt Busch is good, healthy, coming back into this. That's the main thing at the end of the day. The other shit is all secondary. It's all just part of the sport. We say God in terms of the sport, but his health must come first. So
it would be a shame. It would be a shame to not even realize that we watched Kurt Busch's last race. That Kurt Busch is one of those guys that, like, Eric Almirola retiring, but they at the beginning of the season it was like, well, he's not going to do the whole victory lap year that Dale Jr. or somebody did. Nobody will probably ever get that, but when somebody like Kurt Busch retires, you want it to be a special season. He wants it to be special at every race, and knowing, okay, this is my last race here. This is my last race here. But to have it, if something does happen and it gets taken out of his hands, then that would, I think that'd be bad for him and bad for his legacy.
Yeah, I agree. I think he finds a way back into a car for sure. If something were to happen where he couldn't race this year. I don't know. Any other thoughts on that, guys? Any other thoughts on Kurt Busch?
No, man, just hope for the best for him, health wise, and when he's ready to get back. And if he doesn't, he doesn't. The show's going to go on, and they're going to Watkins Glen this week regardless. So, we're going to kind of excited for the Glen, man. The road courses, all the shifting, this car, a lot of high speed. I think it could be a fun little race, actually. I've always liked watching a race at the Glen regardless. They're back to what configuration are they on? They have the bus stop and
I think it's
carousel, right?
Same configuration.
Yeah.
No boot.
Right. So, it could be interesting. That can be a strategy race. That has turned into that in the past. I hate stage racing at road courses because it's a 45-minute, break. I think it's awful. But we'll have that. So they'll work that backwards, right? It's road course racing. They pit on the other side, right? The pit roads on the right side of the driver. That'll be fun. And it's another week of the Truex Ryan Blaney watch. So what do you guys think?
And there's a huge wild card.
Don't even
Kimmy's here.
No.
He's a great legendary driver. Get the hell out. Not a wild card. The team's a whole different. Get the hell out. There are some wild cards though. He's just not one of them.
Yeah, I think.
I think Blaney will be good. They've been strong at all the road courses. Strategy otherwise, they've been up there. Truex is good on the road courses though. I don't know.
I love Watkins Glen. It's the best stock car road course.
Is Dinger in the race?
Yes, of course.
He's gonna win.
No, he's not going to win. I don't think he's going to win. I think it's going to get. I think. I kind of agree with Smeal on the Elliott part.
Well, I said Elliott or Larson, but yeah.
Yeah, Elliott, Larson. They've been really good there at road courses. If they could just keep their nose clean and not have penalties or missing the break or or stuff like that.
I can tell you who's not going to win. Bubba Wallace. I hate to say it, but he's not going to win.
That's no arguments here.
But if he does win this race, I never said that.
We'll delete that part. I think you could see, a Tyler Reddick. I think you could see
Tyler Reddick had a rough race.
Jesus.
He had a rough race.
Suarez.
That's a good one. Chris Buescher.
Yeah, Chris Buescher.
He's been great on Chase Briscoe. Buescher, I did want to touch on that a little bit just because he had such a good race at Richmond. It kind of came out of nowhere. And he has been really good on these road courses. He's been really coming on strong. I honestly think he's the biggest. Yeah, I was just going to say that after the fire. I think he's had the best stretch in the past 2 months in comparison. I shouldn't say the best. He's had just as good of a stretch of races as Bubba Wallace has, but everybody's talking about Bubba Wallace. Nobody's really talking about Chris Buescher, I think. I think he needs to get some love because he is really done well. And I think he's definitely a threat at Watkins Glen. That whole RFK outfit has come on now the past couple months. They really found something.
Ready? Quick flash poll. Is Chris Buescher more likely to win a race the next two than Truex or Blaney? Yes or no?
I don't think so.
That's tough. I think that's tough.
He's been really good.
I say yes. I say yes because he's good at Daytona too. He's good at super speed. I mean, there's not many guys that aren't good at super speedways. Let's be honest. But they will have the speed to be able to do it.
How it goes. Here's the problem that Ford has and Chris Buescher has when they get to Daytona. All of Penske is going to line up and shove Ryan Blaney to the front at all costs, and Toyota's going to do the same thing for Truex, unless somehow Bubba gets up there and inserts himself into it.
Right. I think there's too many players at both Ford and Toyota where
who's more likely to win the championship, Blaney or Buescher?
I don't think either one of them are likely to win the championship.
Straight up against each other, though. If I'm Ford, who am I betting on? I'm
Blaney or Buescher?
Yeah. If I had to get one of them in, it will be sacrificed.
It's Roger Penske. It's Blaney. I mean, if you
absolutely, but
the points, man.
Sure. Blaney is a better super speedway driver to both.
It's Jersey Shore.
Well, here's the problem, and I think Penske. We talked about it a little bit last week, but the problem is these Penske cars every race start out really good, and then they just fade, and they cannot get these things figured out once they start. Or
good point. Or it's the other way around. Or they're really shit for 3/4 of the race and they come on at the end.
Yeah.
But you're right. I didn't want to cut you off there. I'm sorry, but
you're
right though. You're right though.
It seems like RFK and Stuart Haas, these other Ford guys, have figured these. They're starting to figure these things out. They're a little bit behind the curve on all the Chevy guys,
what they have
all the Toyota guys, but they're coming on at the right time. These Penske guys are kind of falling off at the wrong time.
Yeah, I agree.
It's it'll be fun. I'm actually looking forward to next couple of weeks in Richmond. I didn't see Harvick winning that race. I mean, he's been okay there. I just didn't see that happening. I really thought Truex was going to be more of a threat. I thought, we talked about Buescher a little bit there, and like Eric Jones, we thought would be, a lot better than he was. Just wasn't. So who knows? I mean, we'll see. But Josh kind of alluded to it a little bit ago about Kimi making his debut in a Trackhouse car. Saw a preview of the car today. Looks pretty cool. Big fan of I've been a big fan of Trackhouse schemes all year, and that I wish I could say it right, but the other guy, old DK, Dan, who knows how to say it properly?
Viet, I think.
No,
Yeah, you don't
sound
either.
right.
Kiev,
Okay, got
something
it.
like that. I don't know. He's Russian.
We got two former F1 drivers in the field this week, and
Mhm.
I expect it to be some media, but absolutely zero threat to anyone on the track except any driver near them. But not for a win. But pretty cool story for sure. I think Trackhouse has gotten a lot of they in their words have gotten a lot of interest in that car and what this car has done, and a lot of interest from outside the NASCAR world. But yeah, it'll be cool.
I think it's great for the sport. There are 7 different countries represented this week. It's the most ever. Even like back in the days that they went to Japan and stuff, they didn't have this amount of different countries.
A lot of diversity.
A lot of diversity. Russia, Netherlands, Germany,
Mexico.
Hope the F1 guys remember don't run the boot in NASCAR. F1 guys only remember the last time they ran Watkins, but it was like 1970 something.
Are you on crack? And then Jeff Gordon vibes from the Trackhouse scheme. What are you talking about?
Blood sugar's getting
because it's yellow numbers.
He had Pizza Hut today.
Yeah. This guy.
The one thing that I'll say, about the different, having all these countries, for the people who don't like road courses, you better get used to them, because NASCAR gets this type of following from different countries because of road courses.
Yep.
You're going to start seeing more road courses.
Did we name all 7 or no?
No. 7 countries.
Finland, Germany, Mexico, Netherlands, Russia, and UK. Obviously America too, but
in America, yes.
That would apply to
and Mexico.
That was number 7.
He said Mexico. I don't know if he said Mexico.
He said, but yeah, he did.
Okay.
Mexico.
But I think it's great. I think this goes back to some of it with the car, though, too.
It's all about
I remember listening to like Justin Marks a few weeks back on Dale Janello talking about when they saw like how it was set up more like a sports car. It enticed some of these guys. It wasn't so much of a out of their element type car anymore. It was just with the gears and everything the way it is, and it's kind of more welcoming.
I think it's you're gonna learn today moment though.
Oh yeah, I mean it's still 100% different than what they're used to. But anyone that's driving sports cars,
it's still a heavy ass. I agree. It's a heavy ass. It's still a heavy ass stock car. They're gonna have a hard time.
Listen, I've watched. I'll go ahead, Jeremy.
The sequential shifting, the rear diffuser, the independent rear suspension is the closest thing that NASCAR has ever gotten to the sports car world, which is allowing this to be a real thing and drawing some interest from these guys where it has in the past a little bit, but nothing like right now.
I mean, in the past, these guys looked at us like they were racing Amish buggies around, straight axles, 3,000-pound stock cars. They wanted nothing to do with it, but now they're like, oh, this is kind of interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
I've watched enough YouTube videos of these fins and what they can do in rally cars. I'm never counting out a Finnish driver on a road course.
I think it's going to be interesting. I think you could see some chaos since it is a playoff race, and these guys are going to be probably in the back to start. But once they get laps in them and get going, they might figure it out, and you might have some guys crashing, and you never know. You might see some of these guys up in the top 20. I'm just saying. I'm not saying top 10 or anything, but I think a top 20 would be a hell of a day for any one of those drivers.
What I said a little bit about Kimi, I could see him getting a top 10 in this.
Oh,
I could see it with that car. He has because he's one of the guys.
What glasses are you wearing that you see this?
Smeals.
He's raced in NASCAR before though.
Get a new prescription, bud. Figure it out.
I'm just saying. Right, click with minute 43 minute next week when Kimi finishes top 10. You could give your balls a tug, bud.
Have they talked about it, or does anybody know what the third Trackhouse car is? That
Project 91.
Project 91. It's literally a project car for them to bring in people from all different sides of motorsport. This exact scenario. Kimi Räikkönen's a hell of a first pull to get into this car. It's awesome.
So they haven't announced like any others. This is just
it's from what Justin Marks was saying. It's going to be like a few races a year, maybe just the road courses. To try to get high caliber guys, like if you're looking for a big fish, someone like Lewis Hamilton or Daniel Ricciardo or Elio Castroneves or people like that to come in and be able to race a competitive car and not so much jump in. And it's the problem is it's not with their other trackhouse cars. It's a whole separate thing, more so for their brand to get other guys in. It's a whole separate idea.
Yeah, it's ideally to become a worldwide thing, not just a United States thing, And if Kimi Räikkönen gets top 10, okay, a top 10 like straight up. There's not a 34 car pile up on the last corner, and he's like, "Woo, look at me!" It'll be one of the biggest Cinderella stories in NASCAR history, in my opinion. I'm here for it. Trust me, I want to see it because it will make worldwide news. Okay,
and it would be huge for that Project 91 and getting more high caliber, getting like a Jordan Taylor to come over, who I think would do it anyway. But guys like that would be so cool to watch. Like a Jordan Taylor. If Lewis Hamilton starts on the backside of his career and isn't going to run Formula One anymore, or an Alonso, just saying guys like that would be cool as hell.
Listen, I'm totally all with this, but let's pump the brakes on all that. That's pie in the sky what this can be.
It's not really, because like you got the Chicago Street Course. I guarantee you Project 91 has that one. I mean, they're running street courses. I mean, there's gonna be those guys probably have more experience to jump on a track like that than any NASCAR guy.
How cool. I think this is low-hanging fruit, but if Jimmy Johnson were to come back and race one-off NASCAR races for whatever reason, this is the opportunity for him, because there's no room at Hendrick. They can't have a fifth car anymore. That would be the way he does it. And I think, why not for some of these road course races or even if they want to go oval racing, why would you not bring that guy back for a race or two?
Let's not get it twisted with Kimi Räikkönen. He was in the truck series for a bunch of races. And he did really well, and I believe he did get like a top 10 or a top 15.
Like at Charlotte or something.
But that was back. That was back when he was still like in the prime of his racing. This was years ago now. So I'm just saying I'm not counting him out.
Allmendinger won a cup race last year. Same thing.
No, if Jordan Taylor runs a NASCAR race, it's a road course, and that happens to be in some sort of JRM deal, that would be the most popular driver in all of NASCAR. That guy is amazing. He's hilarious. Him and Junior have a good relationship, obviously, and that would be magical to see. Like, imagine JRM having a part-time cup car next year, runs a few races, and then all of a sudden you have Jordan Taylor in a JRM car. How cool would that be?
Or Randy Sandstorm.
That would be awesome.
Same thing. Yeah.
Like Smeal says here, Hendrick could have a fifth car for a one-off.
I think they changed that.
Maybe they didn't. I don't know. Smeal's been known to be wrong before.
Well, I think I heard it somewhere. I think Pockers or something. I thought the same thing because they used to have those project cars. I thought they changed that though.
Anyway,
I think they did, but going back to one of Smeal's point is, and this is kind of what you guys were alluding to, and I'm not against it. I don't think that's not the case, but like entry guys for like Vettel, Danny Ricciardo, Alonso, I think it goes beyond F1. I like what Jeremy said. I really do think it's more for a global thing. I think Trackhouse wants to not just be a NASCAR team. I think they look at something like Penske, maybe want to try to get to that someday, which would make sense. Maybe where they get in a bunch of different series. They already have. I think they have a sports car. I don't know what division. But they have a sports car team.
Well, Justin Moore's background is sports cars. That's what he grew up doing and everything like that. So that makes sense.
Want to give a quick shout out before we get into more here. Quaker Westy, what's going on? I think
it's on Twitch.
It's on Twitch too. Shouts out. Thanks for joining us. That's a new guy. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming hanging out with the Terribles. Come tell us how stupid we are.
We're not stupid.
Yeah, we're really dumb.
Watkins Glen, pretty excited. Do want to just touch upon real quick a couple of the other things that are going on with NASCAR.
Did we cover like who's going to win this race? I know we said a bunch of names. I think we
said a bunch of names.
We said half the field.
I'm going Elliott or Larson. I'm going with the boring pick, but I think those are the two guys probably to beat.
I think Buescher's a dark horse for sure.
I agree. He's my heart pick.
I'll take Briscoe.
Josh?
Reddick. Tyler Reddick.
It's a good one.
We
all kind of went. We all kind of went with boring picks except for Busher.
Boring road course
I
guys.
think you're. I mean, Spiel said it earlier. I saw it in the comment a long time ago. But I mean, honestly, all of the favorites at this are all playoff drivers. I mean, this is not a race that anybody outside the playoffs had circled at the beginning of the year to go win.
No.
Right, because we're on road course number 9, so we kind of have seen this a time or two.
Are we all kind of in agreement, though? There's probably about 12, 15 other guys we'd pick over Truex who are Blaney.
We just did.
That's what. That's
I mean,
so.
Blaney. If we're picking to Jeremy's original point, if it was straight up Blaney Truex, I think I go Blaney here.
Same
for a win, but
all Blaney's got to focus on, really. I mean, outside of winning, is just finishing in front of Truex.
Right, and wrecking the leader. That's a new winner.
Wrecking the leader to make sure.
whoever's the leader.
Hey, do you have
third
a win?
place? If third place and fourth are former winners, wreck that leader. Take yourself with them, and security for fourth in case third place fails tech.
All right, let's get into some of the other topics then. So pictures came out of Auto Club starting their transition into a short track. I don't think it's something we actually talked about on the program. I hate it. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I'm not against a short track per se, contrary to popular belief. I just don't think California is the place. I love that track. I think, I get it. There's a Michigan that's kind of the same way, but I think, especially with the next gen cars, some awesome racing. I really wish what Auto Club and Michigan are to me is the way I wish super speedway racing was. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
If this was 2 years ago, I would be way more into this with this old car. But short tracks have not proven to be very good so far with this new car. And I'm definitely more of a short track guy than a 2-mile intermediate track, especially with a drafting package. If they were going to run this, so I could say I've gone in like back and forth on this because old car, I wanted a short track. Drafting next gen car, I would have wanted a short track. This car, I want Auto Club. So with the high horsepower, low downforce, I like Auto Club. I'm not a huge fan of Auto Club. I think Auto Club is a poor man's Homestead. Like, it's just bigger. I'd take Homestead all day long over Auto Club, but I think it just does need something different. I mean, they've been clamoring for short tracks, and if they make this an experience and it's in California and they make it exciting, I think that market needs some exciting, needs some fenders, and needs some drama. I'm okay with this. I'm excited to see it.
That's what I agree with everything. I think they're looking at, like Coda, how they just, completely renovated everything there and just brought that whole course to life. And they're trying to get different tracks because I like Auto Club, but there is about 3 other tracks that are extremely similar that put on the same race. So to be able to get something that's different, that it's going to be a short track, but it's going to race different than any other short track we have.
The straightaway is going to be like they're still keeping the tri-oval. I believe they're going to keep it banked. I could be wrong.
Like
and then they're going to race. It's going to be like almost like it's going to be like an egg because they're all like they're basically going to circle the like where the tri-oval is, like, and the backstretch. The backstretch is going to be what is old pit lane now. It's interesting, but I don't know.
They had to do it because the track was due for a repave, somewhat soon. And if you're going to repave the place, we've seen how that went for Texas and their little weird move. And the only same with Atlanta. The reason why they reprofiled everything is because they knew how bad that race was going to be for 5 years. Or Charlotte when it was new. So if you're going to do it, and there's no Cup short track on the West Coast, like you're not going to put the Cup Series at Irwindale or whatever. Like, that's just not going to work. If you won't go to North
they should.
Well, they should, but they won't because they don't have pit stalls or whatever they were going to say. And then if you're going to do it, why not do something different? Do high bank, do a Bristol, odd shaped bank Bristol, and everything like that, and just make an experience. Like I think they're gonna do like a whole, like, if I read it right, a whole like fairground type thing there, where there's concerts and things like that. They're gonna make it like a multi-use facility, which is the only way these tracks are gonna survive.
Some of them
in the long run. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
for the most part, if you're only having racing there, like look at Charlotte Motor Speedway has monster trucks there this week, and they have concerts and raves and whatever else. I mean, they're not going anywhere, obviously, in Charlotte, but you have to do that throughout the year to kind of stay in tune with the community. And I think California could use that.
And wasn't this prompted by a big land sell-off? Didn't they sell off a whole bunch of the land and
Right.
to save it, to keep a track going? I think NASCAR pressured them and said, you know, listen, like, I think it was a combination of they sold a bunch of land, land's valuable, right? And then turn this into something different, and the pressure from NASCAR for short tracks and keep your dates and, you know, all those things. So it was a combination of a few things, and I hope for the best, because I think we need to be in that market. NASCAR needs to be in that market, and it needs to be exciting. So I hope it's all. I hope it works.
Well, I think I'm trying not to get too big pie in the sky on it, but it's California. They've been after NASCAR for a long time. The NASCAR series is coming. They're not going to run. They're not going to run big tracks. They're going to be running short
That's a good
tracks.
point. I didn't even. Hey, Josh with the fire there.
The day we listen to electric cars drive around, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Oh no, Formula E isn't that bad. It's not like
You
crazy. It's not that
What are you
bad.
gonna do? You gonna put like a tin can on the wheel so you can hear them? Like, if you see what you're buying.
I get it. I get it. I'm just saying that's a totally different topic for another day. But I'm not 100% against it.
Keep going down that road. We have to introduce a new segment here. Like, but yeah, I mean that's my thoughts on that. If you have to repave it, do something brand new and different.
Yeah, I'm worried about how it's gonna turn out. That's all. Hopefully they do it right.
Texas still screwed up. Texas looks at Atlanta. They're gonna go bank it, and they're still gonna screw it up.
So that is
Texas
the other.
Should just get knocked down.
That was the other news coming out pretty much today before the podcast, is that Texas is looking at a potential reconfiguration, either turning into a hybrid Atlanta or maybe also going to a short track.
Oh.
So I don't know. I mean,
literally anything is better than what it is now.
They get a dirt track.
Like, give me an example of something you think would be worse. Nope, you're wrong. Okay, so Texas is the worst track on the circuit.
Yep, I agree with that 100%.
It is.
I love it in iRacing.
It is.
I love it in
dog
iRacing,
shit.
but
It's trash. Turn 1 is 3,000 feet wide, and they use 14 feet of it.
Mm-hmm.
What is the point?
I think
Why?
I think they had the right idea by trying to make it flatter, but they gave them way too much room. You know what I mean?
It's like they didn't think about it at all.
Yeah.
Let's just do it.
Well, the person that was in charge
awful.
of that retired last year and is no longer in charge of the track, which I think is part of the reason why this move is happening. So I don't know if they're just trying to stay in the news to try to, and this kind of ties into the other thing I wanted to talk about. We don't have a schedule for 2023 yet, and usually around this time of year, it's coming out, and there's only a handful of dates that we know that are every year that are announced, but what's the holdup? Why don't we have a schedule yet?
The TV deal.
Partially, that's probably
deals for 2024, 2025.
Maybe. I do think though, if they are starting the tear up Auto Club now, they're not going to be ready.
Well, no,
So
they're not doing that yet. They have no date for that. They're just taking grandstands down.
They're taking grandstands down.
They're not. Yeah, they don't need them. They're just taking a portion of it out. They don't even sell half the grandstands. So they don't have no timetable for when they're tearing the track apart when doing that part. So I think they're planning on racing there next year and then doing it immediately after.
Right.
Which was the original plan before COVID. I saw somewhere the schedule should be out by the end of the month for Cup, which is late, and then Chuck and Xfinity in September. I think last I saw from Bob Hawker's there.
So they're taking a little extra time here, because of Texas. You know, they're
just move the damn All-Star race. I'll take it.
I think that's where the holdup is. I did
put it
read
North Wilkesboro on the dirt for all I care.
I mean, not only is Texas a trash track, and then NASCAR compounds it by giving the All-Star race.
Yes,
in exchange for Coda.
Something with the TV contract, like Jeremy was saying, I did see a rumor online somewhere, and I would not be surprised by it, is that Fox said dear God, move the All-Star race to anywhere but Texas. So
Anywhere
but
Just
Texas.
saying, North Wilkesboro will be repaved by then. Wouldn't be a bad way to debut it.
I don't.
Kentucky.
For an All-Star race? Not Kentucky. That's it. That's the place worse than
Nobody
Texas.
wants to go to Kentucky.
That's the track worse than Texas, Jeremy, right there.
They're still
Kentucky.
trying to get people in and out of that place. The parking's so bad.
Yeah.
That was 2 years ago.
Hey, I played. Played cornhole and tailgated on the interstate trying to get to that race. Never made it.
Exactly.
8 hours in traffic.
Yep.
That's wild.
Awful.
So yeah, good.
No one's going.
I thought Jeremy was going to say something. Okay.
No, I'm good.
So yeah, we got that. That's going to probably take care of the NASCAR side of things. We're going to go in. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to just take a quick look here at the photo of the week here. And this is what we're going to be talking about when we come back. This man right here, mostly. We'll be right back. Turn 2 Terribles podcast. All right, guys, we are back. Thanks for hanging on with us. We're going to be talking a lot about this guy right here, Donnie Schatz. This is Jeremy. Jeremy's photo, him and his background from Williams Grove earlier this year as he took down a crazy 11th Knoxville Nationals, chasing that all-time number 12 mark set by Steve Kinzer. This man's stats has been insane, and we'll just take a quick look at this beautiful photo. Great job, Jeremy. Great job, as always.
Thanks, buddy.
Take a look at his stats in the Knoxville Nationals. This man is, since 2002, he has finished either first or second, except for 2 times since 2002. One was a 9th place finish. One was a 12th place finish. 11 wins in that time span. 7 second place finishes. That's insane. This guy's probably made over $1 million. Well, easily made over $1 million, maybe $2 million now at this point, just in this one race. It is insane, the stats that this guy has there, and well deserved. I mean, he ran such a great race. He was definitely a favorite since his prelim night. Just what else can be said? What'd you think?
Dude's a legend. I mean, not just at Knoxville, just everywhere. I know in Posse Land we always root against him or did forever, but he's starting to get up in that point in his career where it's kind of start respecting his accomplishments. Same thing with like Steve Kentz was the same way down the stretch. You kind of have that change as they get towards the end of their careers, and seeing him win was kind of cool. What is his second win this year? First?
Yeah, second.
I think he's been running really strong. I would, if this turns into something, could run his right to a championship battle. It's gonna be tough. It's tough, but he's been running it hot. But anytime, that's not easy. It's not an easy race to win, right? That's why people like Kyle Larson win it. It's the biggest thing that they have on their heads. Even though he's a NASCAR guy, but to do it 11 times and basically do it all but he did almost 10 years straight. He only lost one. He finished second. Tim Schaefer won a wild race, and the other one was when Jason Johnson had one of the classic finishes with him. Like, that's insane to be anywhere from 90 to 110 cars through the course of a week and figure it all out. That's nuts.
Yeah, I agree, and he's going to go in conversation as one of the greatest of all time, and it's so strange all the years that he was so dominant and won it. I'm like, this guy, man, but I felt pretty good about it. Like, I knew when he was able to roll the middle there in the second half of that, and he was the only one doing it and making time. I'm like, everybody's in trouble.
So the gravel, like he set sail. I thought he was good, and yeah, like Jeremy said, you see shots just chomp chomp. Here he comes. See you.
Yeah. Ironically, Smeal said they did something with the motor that Donnie didn't like early. Yeah, too much power. They pulled timing out of it. They did the old D-Tune Dakota Coon deal at the break there, and pulled a bunch of power out of the thing because he talked about too much wheel spin, and trying to get it to roll the middle and be steady, smooth Donnie is not wheel spin. So, they just pulled a bunch of power out of it and tightened it up, and it just rolled around the middle and just kept his momentum up. And Knoxville is a momentum track.
Yep.
And it gets too wide around, even though you're hammered down around the top. Like, hammered down around the top is still a long way around. You can be pretty heavy throttled through the middle, no wheel spin, and have that car tight enough. You're gonna be in good shape. And obviously I'm a Bread fan, and they talked about it tightening him up during the second half of that. I think a lot of guys, needed to have a little bit more side bite, need to have a little bit more grip, and it worked for Donnie, and kind of felt cool about it. I mean, I thought it was just kind of a throwback, and it was obviously an emotional win for him. And Victor Lane talked about his dad a little bit, and first big win since his dad, and the last 2 years that they've had, really, this one kind of hit you in the feels, my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I was definitely happy for him, and I'm not usually a guy.
You mentioned throwback. It was a throwback car to the one that he won with, like the 50th anniversary, right, or his 25th anniversary, something like that.
Chrome wheels matter, bro. Chrome wheels matter.
It seemed like the track kind of came to him. Like, I mean, everybody was running the outside, and he was running fifth or sixth, and just kind of just stayed there on the bottom and middle, and the track kind of came to him, and then all of a sudden he just started climbing.
Yeah, I mean, that's Smeal said it here. Saturday was vintage Donnie. I mean, that's what he did. That's how he's won a lot of these races. It being a 50-lap race, yeah, you get that halfway break to really adjust on it. It helps having a good team behind you, but Donnie's just that guy. He thrives in these longer races. He's won this race from a B main one time, which is insane. It's just wild. And like you guys were saying, he was rolling the middle. The track came to him.
Yeah, and the good cars were the good cars. Cars we expected. I think Jacob Allen definitely overachieved. He had a great night. Logan was there. Brent was in the top 10. Brad Sweet, David Gravel, Macedo, like all the
Larson.
usual suspects, right? Larson. Larson actually had a tire go down early. He short pitted, had a tire go down early, and and came back through there. So it was kind of how I thought it would go. I mean, shout out to the 88, the McCarl kid, the big unit, Austin McCarl. He had a hell of a week, and he fought hard, man. He drove his tail off the beginning of that feature there, and it didn't end well, but it was cool to see McCarl running up front, with the shots and some of those names. It was just a cool week overall that way. I think the feature, the way it all went down with the storylines was pretty good, but throughout that week it was a challenge. That format we talked about, in our Discord a lot, it didn't work this year. That format isn't new per se, and there's been years where this, small snippets of Donnie coming from the B, guys coming from the back over a 50-lap race. But night one of the prelim, where 20 of the 22 top time trialers had to run the B main to get in on their qualifying night.
Yep.
The track has to match up to the format, right?
Yeah, agreed.
I don't mind this format. They made this format. They got to this point, and they're smart people.
You got to be able to pass
Nationals. The Nationals is a hard race to make. 109 cars, 109.
I think so.
Something like that.
Something like that. It's supposed to be hard to make. Okay, but if you go out there and you time trial that well, ideally the reason for the invert is so you have good cars coming through. Well,
yes.
This isn't 1984 Knoxville. This is 2022 Knoxville, where you have 40 cars, 50 cars who can run fast laps around Knoxville.
Yeah,
right.
The cars are so equal now.
They're very much equal, and you get a track that's spread out like it did. You see guys not passing a lot of cars to get there, right? So I don't know if it's so much a format problem as it was a track problem that has to match up to that format. And I think both nights were the same. And thankfully to Knoxville, they left it the same second night so people could either bid more, or at least they made it even between the two nights.
Even though the second night, there was, I think, 11 out of the 16 that locked in were all from Thursday night. So, like, someone like Logan Schuchart, who, he got help with inverts, but he still dominated his prelim night, and he was still definitely one of the top 5 fastest cars. He had to go through a B main on Saturday night to make the feature. Just bummer. You know what I mean? Just he ended up still getting a podium, but I mean, he might have had his chances ruined at competing maybe for a win instead of having to come from a B main and work his way through the field.
Did we all agree that the 2 time trial laps are the 2 most important laps of the year?
Absolutely. And it just sucks because
even then it goes back to pill draw. Like
exactly.
Even Tasker Phillips said that. He goes, finally got some luck. He had a good pill draw. He goes out, makes a show because he got just enough in the format.
I think that's the reason for the 8-car inverts, because you have guys going 55th that aren't going to have the same track as the guys in, but because the track stayed so tacky, it did fall off towards the end of time trials, but not like crazy. But like it was hard for guys after the 40th car to get up into the top 20 in time trials both nights.
The 40th car won their heat going away.
Yeah, and
the 40th fastest car won their heat going away from the pole.
And they automatically get into that A main then, and I think that's the problem. Like if you're gonna stress points, line up the prelim nights by points. That's
but the A main on the prelim night doesn't mean you're in the A main for the Knoxville Nationals.
Right, but still, what Jimmy's saying is like, so you win that heat, you're in the A main, even though you get inverted there, and the guys that were fast, like the 18 or the 20, whatever it was on Wednesday, had to go through a B, and only 4 of them were getting to the A, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then your night's over, and you have these other guys that caught inverts.
This is why the format, though, is debatable, because Brent Marks, second quick overall Wednesday night. 8th to 5th in his heat.
Yep.
Second to first in the B, because it was quick. Only went +9 in the A and ended up 7th in overall points. Does being in the B main of your prelim night that big a deal? If you're good enough, you pass cars in that B main. The track should be wider.
If you're good enough, second though, and that's one reason he's still locked into that top 16 because he passed cars
and only finished in the middle of the pack of the A main and prelim night.
Yeah, sure.
But if you don't get out of that B main, like Macri, I think finished 6th in his B main, and he lost all opportunity to go on. I think it's not broken. I think like you said, line them up by points.
or
that feature or whatever, or
do
adding
passing points. Yeah, I think passing points. I like passing points better.
If you're inverting 8, invert the whole field and do passing points.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all.
But the thing is, the problem is with passing points, and like I said, I've saying this before. You know, the debate is, was it a track problem or a format problem? It's mostly a track problem, but you can't always control the track because of however weather might be.
Drivers can't control it at all.
Yeah, but you can control the format, and I think
drivers can't control the format.
No. I'm not talking to drivers.
Race promoters can.
The race promoters can. You could do whatever you want to the track. It's not always going to turn out the way you think it's going to. You know what I mean? You could do all different types of track prep. You could try all this different shit. If the weather's just not cooperating with you, which I don't think was the problem here, I just think they watered the shit out of it. But you can't always control the weather, so God forbid. You did have a night where it rained right before, you know, they were supposed to go out for time trials, and the track is heavy as shit all night. You can't control that. You got to get it in, though. You could control that format, though, to maybe combat that a little bit. And I think maybe doing like an inverted 6 with some passing points, I think that would change things. But
I would
it's still
points. Do what Jeremy said, do the whole field, and because all that's going to do then, if you are good and can make passes, you're going to gain points and take points away from those guys that maybe benefit from an invert. Even if you're Brent Marks and you start 10th in your heat and only get to 8th, 6th is probably still going to get the 2nd and take points away from those guys.
Exactly. Do +2 per game spots gain and -1 to the guys who lose spots. And that could balance it out a little bit. I think that
sounds
would
a lot like the Chili Bowl format, other than the random draw for your heat.
Something like that. Right. It'd be something like the Chili Bowl format. Which seems to usually work out pretty fair for
it. Usually does. And I don't think Knoxville Nationals format is off that much. I think most of the 16 guys deserve to be there. I'm not shitting on them. I'm not saying that
don't you take the task to task.
No. JJ Hickle, was he one of the best 16th fastest drivers there that week? No, but he locked in. Was Darren Pittman one of the top 16 fastest drivers? No, but he locked in. You know what I mean? And none of those guys did anything other than time trial well and kind of hold their spots. You know, they did what they needed to do. I'm not taking anything away from them. And Darren Pittman had a great Nationals. But, you know, were they a top 16 driver? Borderline. Not even. And I think someone like a Logan Schuchart or even a James McFadden, you know, I'm not trying to like play favorites to the Outlaws, but Brent Marks, you know, I think they could have been up a little bit more.
I think you have a point. Like Brent came out pretty good, all things considered. Starting 7th.
Yep. He also timed 2nd.
Right.
He also had a third. He also his pill draw was like 3rd or 4th. So
and he drove up to the top 3 by the caution, the midway break, and then kind of stalled out from there. But like to your point earlier, if Schuchart doesn't have to go through the B main on Saturday and starts 12th, I think he gets up there and really fights Johnny.
Yes,
they were hauling ass. Him and Jacob Allen both.
He was the biggest loser of the week, and even though he had a great week, he was definitely the biggest loser of the week. He definitely had a shot.
What if you draw for, like, you know how like the All-Stars do, you race against your heat, you time against your heat.
That's what I was gonna say too. If you do,
you could still do your inverted 6.
You group
time
everywhere.
Your heat. Right. I don't think it has to be beyond time trials, but at least you have that guy who, if you have that many cars on a prelim night, 50 cars, you're going from car 1 to car 50. Very rarely does a track hold up that long to be even, right? So you have a good car and a timing in the back, heads up against 50 other cars. They get to 20th. Is that where they want to set up their week? On 2 laps because of a bad pill draw? I think if you don't have to worry about a pill draw bad if you are able to line up in groups and you want to go against your group like an all-star format.
Then would you still invert? So say there's 50 cars. You have 5 heats. So 10 cars. Would you still invert 8 then?
Yep. I wouldn't change a thing because you're at least going against the group that you timed with.
Yeah.
Right.
It's even. It's more even.
As more
right?
even as you can make it.
You don't have a Brad Sweet who we know is good going out the 48th car and a track slowed down 3/4 of a second, and a guy who is a top 16 speed car times 30th.
Right.
Because
you have a guy who, not to make it sound bad, who is probably not that. Someone like let's use.
I'll give you Tasker Phillips. So Tasker.
I was going to say TJ Stiles.
Tasker, okay, whatever. I don't care. Take either one and say they pulled a pill draw to go out 4th in time trials. They end up in the top 10 in overall time trials, and Brad Sweet's 30th.
Right.
Which pretty much happened, actually.
Right. That was what you say. He was doing a real life example. I was going to go with something not so much real, and use like a TJ Stutz, who was out there for different reasons. He's out there, I don't know, just to be a part of it, but definitely not the equipment and everything's not on Brad Sweet's level. If he gets a good pill draw, he could go out and set quick time because he was the fourth car out behind McKenna Haase and whatever.
And the hard part there is TJ Stutz may not have that single car time trial speed like a Brad Sweet,
but he can outrace.
You put him in a heat race with aero, and the way these cars are so aero sensitive, he can go out there and win that heat race.
Right, which is what Logan Wagner did, and most of the posse guys, to be honest.
And there's a disparity there because TJ Stutz has enough speed with an aero advantage, being clean air versus the guys behind him, and you can see that in Brent's heat. He was better than the cars in front of him, but they were locked down. It was just wide open.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a short track; it's a big track. So the track has to support the format. The format has to support the track, and it just didn't match up.
I thought the heat racing too, and both of them, like that first night, the only guy that was able to gain any spots was Brett Marks, which Brett Marks, deservedly so, locked into the top 16. But you couldn't pass in the heat races. So these guys were time 38th, 39th, 40th. They were able to just check out.
Was there something going on with the track? Because, I mean, I saw a ton of, is that normal for a track? But I saw a ton of flat tires, just people just blowing rears.
Yeah, in the feature,
I think everybody on the track.
Yeah, everybody kind of felt the same way there, the way they were shredding like that. There wasn't any rubber. They weren't wearing the tires out. Something was cutting them. And
Larson blew his tire in lap 10.
Yeah,
right.
It was pretty early.
Like, shredded it.
Right. There had to be.
He was on the rim. He rode it on the rim.
Yeah. And this is my question: is like Jimmy, you said you can't control the track, but like this is the Super Bowl of dirt racing. You can only control the track.
You could only control the track. You could only control the track to the extent, and my point was too, is like they usually get pretty good weather at Knoxville, but God forbid you have a night where it pours rain and it's like you're starting time trials at 10 o'clock that night because you need to get it in or something like that, or God forbid you have to run it in the daytime, and now you have your prelim nights completely different and all that. There's only so much you can control there. You have more control over the format was my point there. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I think they could have did a better job with track prep.
I think they did pretty close to it on Saturday. I mean,
I think what it was on Saturday, it should have been all week.
But
and the weather and everything
cars there, though. Didn't you have everybody minus Clint Gardner race on that track at some point for some reason?
That's who
a lot more laps.
Clint
Gardner, he kept the track hammered down the whole time.
Held things together. So speaking of Saturday, a little bit of drama throughout the night, I think, right? Like a couple things here and there. It was getting some of those preliminary mains were interesting. So want to bring one up here, Jimmy. This is for you, buddy. This topic is right your wheelhouse.
We're going hard knocks here? Is that what we're doing?
Not Sheldon Hanshield. Or was this Friday night?
It was Friday night.
Not Sheldon,
right?
Zierfoss.
Brock.
And Jennison. On that was Friday night.
Ayrton Genitals.
Ayrton Genitals. So that was Friday night, Hard Knocks. It was in the feature in the A main, and they were one spot out of the transfer. You get top 4, you transfer right into the feature on Saturday night. That's why it was such a big deal. It's not like how it was in prelim nights. So 5th place they're battling for. Zierfoss was faster for about a lap and a half, 2 laps.
He was
couldn't get around him. He was hauling ass. I think he was going to get there.
Yeah.
Him and Jennison are racing hard. They're coming off a 2. Jennison looks like he made a last minute move to go up a lane coming out. Zierfoss tried to cross underneath him, and instead of Zierfoss lifting it all to make sure he cleared him, he clipped his left rear tire, and they both wrecked, and then effectively lost their shot at making the feature. Big fights after. There was kind of a argument on the track. Jennison wasn't happy. His crew wasn't happy. Brock wasn't happy. Jennison being a hometown guy there, basically he's a local driver there. You had all the fans coming out of the woodwork harassing. It looked like they're going down and harassing Brock's crew after the race. Some things were going down. I go 60-40 Brock on it. I'm a big Zierfuss fan. Jonathan needs to hold a line there.
Question.
Yeah.
What was your percentage on Ross Chastain and Christopher Bell?
It's 80-20 Bell.
What?
I said that last week. It was all Bell.
Brock should have lifted.
All I said about Chastain last week was that he's just becoming a common denominator.
I agree completely on Jimmy's ratings on this. 100% agree. That was all Bell. 80-20, 90-10. I'm right there. That was Bell. It was stupid.
I was going more on the move that Suarez made was very similar to the Brock's, as in he could have just lifted and saved his race. Bigger picture.
Oh, Chastain, you mean?
Yeah, Chastain.
Okay.
He could have just lifted.
But this is why this is 60-40, closer to sharing some of this, because Bell did that one time on older tires. It was not even.
It's asphalt versus dirt.
Chastain had a run. Okay. Jonathan had no idea where Brock was. They don't have mirrors. They don't have any clue. Brock obviously had mentioned that Jonathan had been kind of screwing around, holding the line.
Jonathan also, I saw him in a post-race interview. He admitted to all that, basically. Right. He's like, yeah, so go ahead, sorry.
So trying to impede the lane, okay? And Brock probably, in my honest opinion, Brock doesn't want to take himself out of that race, but he was also probably tired of it and misjudged a little bit on the crossover with the closing rate. And that was it.
He just clipped him. It wasn't like everybody was trying to say it, like a lot of the people that were coming to Jen.
I think it looked worse. It looked worse because he got there and it kind of locked up.
Yeah,
once you're locked, it's over. It's over. Right. Like you're locked up. Right. So it looks terrible.
To me, Jonathan's already cockeyed before Brock's even hitting him. That's the way it looked like to me, but we don't have a great camera angle from the front stretch to the back stretch, to be honest.
And Brock's been around. He knows that you do this on a straightaway, the odds of you wrecking with that guy are pretty high. So he's not trying to take himself out of this race.
No, why would he do that?
So it was a little bit of both. It was a little bit of frustration, saying I'm not lifting.
And there's also a sense of urgency there. You're within 15 laps or so. You still need to get one more spot to get in there. You need to go.
And then, the part that I'll put on Brock is I don't know if I lift there, but I don't want to hit him. Right. But he squared him up, so he had no shot of passing him and turning under him. But I also put a little bit of this on Brock because I think he was frustrated. And I think that
maybe
he also took a little bit of an attitude of like, I'm here to race and race for an outlaw win, and you're just here as a hobby. He kind of alluded to that in that interview a little bit, like you're here for a Saturday night. I'm here for points and to win, try to make the Knoxville Nationals. He took a little bit of this like elitist attitude. I'm an outlaw, so kind of piss off. So that little bit of attitude after is a little cringy to me.
Obviously, I'm a fan, but I give him a little bit of credit because that seemed like it was immediately after what happened.
Right.
It was immediately like you're interviewing the guy when he's hot, red hot. You have guys coming in, some fucking farmer guy in fucking overalls who's been drinking beer out in the fucking stands for fucking 5 hours. Right. Comes down in the pits and says, "Fuck you for taking him out. I'll beat your ass, pussy." In your pit as you're frustrated already. And so
you stick a mic in his face,
and then you stick a mic in his face. That's what he's gonna say. Brock's already pissed off, and whatever.
Listen, there's a little bit of truth in what he said. It might have been out of some anger, but I still believe there's a little bit of truth in that, where he's kind of taking a shot at Jonathan, going, "Look, bro, you're not here to do what I'm here to do. I'm an outlaw." Like he was more aggressive with what he said, obviously, but I think there was some truth to this guy's in my way for a transfer spot when, like, he's not here for what I'm here for.
And I think that's because at the end of the interview, then he says, "Oh, well, whatever, we'll race our way in tomorrow." It's like, bro, you don't realize that you're starting 20th in the B main. You're not racing your way in, and he ultimately didn't. But I mean, I think he was just really pissed off, trying to keep his confidence up, knowing he had a fast car, and kind of got, in his eyes, fucked. He got boned a little bit, but in his eyes. So yeah, I don't have a problem with anything he said.
I think beyond the incident itself, we should try to touch on like how scary that looked at first when he got turned to the wall and Brock got launched. It was like, oh, this is gonna be big, and somehow it ended up not being as big as I thought. I thought we were gonna see Brock flip for a quarter mile.
Yeah,
because he was up there backwards.
I can't believe nothing was broken on that car.
He damn near kept it rolling when he hit the ground and spun around. It was like rolling. I just don't think he wanted to drive back out on the track. Which is probably smart on his part.
And
but
then
still.
Jonathan stopped right next to him, and they were all yelling and screaming on the track, and almost turned into a fight on the track. And
which honestly would have been better.
go
I
ahead,
was gonna
Josh.
say that would have been like that's what you want. Like that's pay per view right there. Like I mean that make that part of the
That's what you get.
format.
That's what you get with the Knoxville Nationals, though. You really do. I mean, it's
Which always
intense.
it always pisses me off. This is what pisses me off about dirt racing. You're racing dirt. You're gonna have fights. Then there's always somebody leaving in handcuffs, and it's like who the fuck invited the sheriff? Like we don't. That's not. You're in a dirt race. What do you think's gonna happen?
Well, the hard part there is you don't have as much security as you do at like a NASCAR race where these guys and there's pit crews and there's 54 people to tear them apart. You ever seen some of that Bowman Gray shenanigans, dude? They're like
Right.
jumping off and like
Jesus.
WWE drop kicking people and shit.
And
Like
they're literally using their vehicles as weapons.
right, and
Yeah,
it's
Bowman
like
Gray is dangerous.
and it's like the hillbilliest of hillbilly kids. Like that one kid, that one video I saw in the Bum Gray couldn't even fill out a fire suit, and he's out there with tattoos, and he had to be a Dietrich fan. I mean, there's no way he wasn't. Like just being an asshole in the track, and you need a sheriff for that. At NASCAR events and these big top tier events, you have you have security and pit crews, and they'll break it up, and they don't want to fight. I think that's why it's a little more grassroots, even though it is Knoxville, this is a little more grassroots. So that's probably why you get some of that dirt, you know what I mean? Because it can get pretty violent. I mean, it can, and it's in the past it has. I don't think it would have there at Knoxville, but like you look at highlights from, I don't know, what's that track in Georgia, Tennessee, the track Mama warned you, but Cherokee, shit like that. I mean, you got good old boys just beating the hell out of each other, and it's literally like a
Knoxville's a little more pinky up though at this point because of
well, there's people everywhere. I mean,
and people everywhere, and honestly, it sounds just as bad. I think I'm going to go back to something Smeal said here earlier, which was a great point. And I think we got to talk about it just real quick, if I could find it.
The headline of Knoxville is vandalism.
Yeah.
Where the hell is he?
Mm-hmm. It's Smeal. Who knows?
Timestamp was 21:30. Biggest headline out of Knoxville were the vandalism/theft, which took away from an overall damn good Nationals.
Yeah.
Justin Henderson, I think, Logan Wagner. I read some of the details.
There was another trailer that had their tires slashed Friday night.
Yeah, whose is that? Was that Tanner Thorson's?
No,
is that right?
Tanner
He wasn't
Thornton.
there.
No,
It was
Cale Thomas. I mean,
Oh, Cale Thomas. That's
Yeah.
right. The 94. My boy Cale. Shout out Cale Thomas. Did some COVID iRacing in my racing rig here at my house. So
That's okay.
just a bad look, man. Like all around, like such an event like this, like I just don't get it. And I don't know if I've ever. It's just I don't remember ever hearing this. I mean, do you guys remember?
No, not really.
I mean, it's been happening. All I heard about it, it's in the Midwest somewhere. Like I guess
It's
they're
Iowa.
warning.
It's a map. Like on the map, it's like in the middle.
Right, but I'm talking is the All Stars. You troll. When they were at I-70 and things like that, during that they were being warned. Yeah, keep loading, bud. Figure it out. They were being warned about this kind of stuff happening at the All-Star show at I-70 and things like that. And then I guess I forget what late model team it was that had to happen Wednesday night somewhere out there in that general region of corn. And I don't know. Like something Logan Wagner's from his Twitter stuff saying it was like $5,000. He stopped at a red light or something to go.
And that basically what happened to Justin Henderson too. Is basically they were unloading,
unlock something. Yeah, they're going in and out.
So part of the problem with Knoxville Nationals, I think, is, and it's probably something that they're going to have to look at, is there's too much going on for the town that it spills into the town. That's one of the great things about the event too. It turns the whole town. It's like imagine Port Royal having,
That's worth it.
Yeah,
but bigger.
Well, no, but yeah, exactly, bigger. Where it spills out into town, you have people staying at houses and stuff like that, and so. But the problem, one of the things is that you can't bring your hauler into the infield of Knoxville. So you got to take your stuff. You got to park your hauler outside of the track, somewhere probably on the street. Unload your car, unload all your stuff, move your merch trailer, all that, and bring it inside to the fairgrounds. And, are you going to lock your shit up every single time you go and make a run? And that's what sounds like what happened here with Logan and Justin Henderson.
Well, Logan,
they were
sounds like
making.
he was on the road, like driving.
He was
He
coming.
said he was 5 minutes from home or whatever.
No. So they, I was gonna say, they like rent a house. So like they're just a few blocks away from the track.
Right.
So they're going from the track to where they were staying. It was like literally a couple blocks down, 2 red lights down.
Smil brought up a good point too. You basically leave your merch trailer out on the midway for a week. I mean, they are there for a long time. Most of the time, all these guys that go to the track, they're there for a weekend.
Mhm.
They're there for a damn week, like camped out. I mean, I don't know. I remember there was some headline like this at the Chili Bowl this year. There was stuff going on at the Chili Bowl like that because I remember like tires getting cut and windows getting busted out.
Kyle Loomis, I feel bad. He's the guy who's doing the Be Kind stuff and really highlighting some of the good people in the sport, and he's been doing some good stuff with the World of Outlaws and everything. He went to his home track last night and he got his windows busted out because he's trying to do something. Maybe it's because he got harassed, it sounded like, at Knoxville. I don't really know the guy. I kind of just follow him loosely on Twitter, and I saw him, with some of this other stuff. But it's just terrible. Like, what's going on? It just seemed very ultra dramatic and a lot of just trashy shit going on, man.
You think this is bad? NASCAR has signed up to descend about 10,000 rednecks on the south side of Chicago on 4th of July weekend.
Is that where the Civil War breaks out? Is that where it actually starts?
I mean, it could be upon us, but they're sending their fan base to Southside Chicago on July 4th weekend.
That should go well.
That's going to be interesting.
I won't be there.
I don't think it's. Brett Perigo has joined us in the chat. Shouts out to the legend. Shouts out. How does one go about getting on the podcast? Like the Zarfos guy can do better than him. That sounds like shots fired, and we would love to have you on, Brett. We'll have to.
Sounds like a drink it or dump it type kind of deal going on here.
Yeah, it sounds like we should bring you on.
He's sitting around here in the next 20 minutes or so.
I don't know. I've met Perigo, and I think I've ever heard him say 4 words. So,
you gotta get him going.
This is a podcast where you got to talk. I mean, you can't just drive your wingless car around and impress us. You got to come in here and have
I'm going to fix this real quick.
I'm going to fix this real quick.
You guys go on. I'm going to fix this real quick. Where is he?
So is it Parker Price Miller? Is that the PPM injury?
Yeah, man.
That first race, I just watched the highlight video, but I saw it and I thought it was the guy in the car that was just completely beat to shit. But
yeah, right. You would have thought so, right?
That was one of weird times sitting there in silence. The whole place was quiet, and I was with you, Josh. I thought it was Hickle because they all said PPM got out of the car, and it was just nothing it felt like forever. And I'm like, this is the worst part of all of this. We knew it was a battery. Like, you saw the car flip, and the whole front of Hickle's car is bent to hell, and it's like, damn. But it ended up being PPM with his vertebrae and stuff. Like, that's rough.
What's crazy is when that first happened, and you on the Dirt Vision broadcast, they all run over to Hickle's car, and quickly as they're like lean down looking, you see PPM fall out of the car. I don't know if you saw that. He actually got himself unbuckled and fell out of the car on the ground, and they immediately left Hickle and went over to PPM, and they left him linger for, I don't know, maybe 10 more seconds, and then they pulled away from the wreck and never went back, because then they started to get worried, and I went, they ran away from Hickle's car pretty quick, and I heard him say he was getting out, and I'm like, PPM's banged up here. Something's up. Like, even though he moved and got out of that car, obviously we see the results now of the 2 vertebrae, and thankfully, it sounds like he's going to be able to heal up without surgery. So, thank goodness for that. But like it quickly went like, oh, Hickle, oh man, that thing's bad. Wait a minute, he just flopped out of that car. Like,
he's fine. Yeah,
there's a problem here, right? And they immediately left Hickle. Not that they didn't, but he must have said, "I'm good," right? Because they lean in there, yell, and then they turn around and see him on the ground, and they quickly went. So definitely that time where watch enough of these races where when the broadcast flips away, They don't want to show you the wreck. They're not going to give you a second look at it until they say something. And the longer it went without saying anything,
The more nervous you get.
the more nervous you get about it, right? So, and I think anybody that's watched enough of those is like, something was up here for sure. So, yeah, man, hopefully he's good to go. He's had a rough go of it the last 2 years, with the cancer and just coming back from that and kind of get back in the groove a little bit and, getting his girl sunshined and,
damn it.
Did I steal it from you?
I knew somebody was going to pull the trigger.
I did want to give a shout out real quick to Sunshine. He had a great
for
Nationals.
He did, led laps there,
But
anyway, no, serious note there, man. You never want to see a guy hurt, and it's just a pretty close knit sport, and
he
got out of the Nationals,
He got out of the car, and I'm like, man, he went down to the ground then. And what it reminded me of is like the million times I got ran over when I played football, and I would get the wind knocked out of me.
Yes.
That's what it looked like to me. And I not that I wasn't taking it seriously. I was just kind of like, he might have just got the wind knocked out of him, and they just don't know how he is yet. FDS over here saying, I said in Discord first there's a neck and back injury because he's a fucking doctor over here.
No, that's because he's done that to so many cars. As he's doing it, he's like, oh, that's a neck and back right there.
Well, what was it? The Geo thing? I knew that was Geo by the wheels. No, I knew it was Geo when they said it was Geo. You clown. He's on it, man. This guy.
Oh, this fucking guy. He's like, I knew it was Geo right away. Look at the rims.
I knew it wasn't Hod. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
I'm like, I saw orange. I'm like, oh, is it Hod and Shield for like 5 seconds max? Well, I knew it was him right away because of the rims.
Look at me, I'm so smart.
So you guys are used to dirt vision, flow racing, kind of shitty production.
Ooh.
Whoa.
No, this is good.
What did you think about the production at the Nationals?
It's great.
As far as like cameras and track angles.
You're used to like NBC and Fox covering NASCAR, so I get it. I think it was great. I think it's the best it's ever been. I do think
NASCAR should take notes and not be so zoomed in you can lick the car's window.
That's Fox. Listen, but if we want to go to NASCAR broadcasting, night and day difference between Fox and NBC. NBC does such an infinitely better job than Fox. It's disgusting. I kind of wish in the next contract thing they find somebody else other than Fox if they could get back to ESPN or something because
ESPN,
NBC
really?
Because Fox just does such a shit job. In my opinion, Fox just does such a shit job. I hate watching the Eagles on Fox. Their sports broadcasting just isn't where it should be compared to other places. But that's besides the fact.
Yeah, I think Josh, we're so used to Dirt Vision and their production and Johnny Gibson, and we're all just sort of used to it. So I don't know if we judge it necessarily, but between Flow and Dirt Vision, they all do a pretty good job for being kind of out in the middle of nowhere in these tracks and setting them up on the fly. It's not, you don't have the facilities you would like a NASCAR and platforms and pagodas and billboards, and the facilities aren't really built to be like broadcasted in a sense, and they've been like the over the years, but it's pretty good. Production as far as for what it is do a pretty good job.
And for us,
I think.
And for us as dirt fans, you could just give us a static cam at the very top at start finish line where you could just see the whole track, and we'll be happy. We don't need anything else.
That's what we're used to.
That's probably what we would rather than all these different camera angles, because then you could see the whole track.
That's like, if you go back, we talked about it Saturday. Like there was a time whenever Knoxville was going on, and you had to either have Dirt Vision audio up to know what the hell was going on, or wait till that night to see on hose heads on who the hell won the damn race. Or next morning and read the newspaper. And so when they started doing like Dirt Vision Max, initially it was only the big races where you could see some video. You could have put the grainiest thing up there ever. We'll figure it out. We're watching. It's cool as hell.
It's only the past 3-4 years since we've actually had this level of quality production.
Like when TNN was like broadcast for the Knoxville Nationals, it was like the greatest day of your life. Like
even though
Speed Channel,
it was tape delayed 5 months later.
Even when Speed Channel was doing it live for a couple of years, so it was a couple of races, or the Outdoor Channel, or what was that? Yeah, the Outdoor Channel, where they would do it. It was like, it was the greatest day ever. Like, oh, you can see your boys on there. Like, oh, there goes Hodnet.
You'll be able to watch Knoxville Nationals probably leading up to Christmas on CBS Sports Network. because that's usually what we're used to when it comes to
TNN was live back then, but
CNN was, yeah.
right. But yeah, overall it was.
What do you think, Josh? You were asking, kind of inquiring.
From an outsider, for this being like such the talked big dirt race, I thought the production would be a lot higher than what it was. I mean, there was still a lot of stuff that happened on track that they don't even have camera shots of. And I mean, I know in this day and age it's hard, but I mean, look at like golf. Golf goes out and they'll put up these towers. They have cameramen setting in 100-foot JLG lifts for 10 hours a day. I mean, there are ways to do it. And if you want people to take the sport seriously, and if you want this to be a big deal, you have to appeal to people outside of what you're appealing to now.
I love this take.
Yeah, and like I'm with you, right? So from the outsider's take, the hard part is right now is just the revenue and the money side of it.
Right.
If you look at golf and you look at the money being thrown around and the TV networks that are involved, Dirt Vision is Dirt Vision. Dirt Vision is not tied into any big network. They are their own company. They started this from the ground up, and the money being thrown around is at a different level than these high-end professional sports. And I think what you see, it's hard to, you're setting the bar to compare them apples to apples, because it's all the only thing you can compare it to. There's nothing else really. You should be wanting to compare Flow and Dirt Vision if they had the same broadcast, and what would their quality be together, because right now that's about apples to apples. To a professional level sport on a network, on television, to what you have here, you're going to go, wow, this is the biggest race of this is their Daytona 500. I would expect more. But at the same time, where it was even 5 years ago to today is light years ahead of what it was. It's just advanced huge. When Dirt Vision first started, they only did how many races a year? 30, 40?
Yeah.
You had audio at most races, I thought.
Audio and then video at 30 or 40.
Yeah.
Now they do every single Outlaw show. They do every single Williams Grove and multiple,
every Knoxville, every Jacksonville. They do a shit ton.
Right. Within the last 5 to 8 years, they went from audio everywhere and video 30 times a year to multiple tracks, and on Australia, every single race they do. So it is actually in its infancy stages in a scheme of things, even though Knoxville's $175,000 to win. It's in its infancy. It's less than a decade old of it being good, watching everything. So, it's not and it's becoming bigger and bigger because you're seeing more and more tracks doing it. Even that's the big debate right now is it even worth it for the tracks, because people are going to watch it on TV versus show up. You know what? Knoxville sold out. Get over it. Right? Like, if for a sprint car fan like myself, if I wanted to watch the West Coast, I will go pay for Flow or Dirt Vision. What am I going to do? Fly to the West Coast every weekend to watch a race? At least I have eyes on a track, like what's out in the West Coast, Trophy Cup, right? Any of these,
like Silver Dollar and Placerville and places
right?
Like that.
Whatever they run weekly, I would have had to read it on Hose Heads, watch it. Who knows what? But right now, I can go, man. If I'm ever in California and I'm near these tracks, guess where I'm going? I saw that on Dirt Vision, right? That's what it's intended for. These tracks that are bitching, saying just keeping fans away, they just sit at home. Stop it. Be better promoters. That's my opinion on that. I know
give them a reason to go
there tonight. But Josh, I think what you saw Saturday night was light years ahead of where it was 5 to 10 years ago, and I think it'll continue to improve.
Well, and I mean, I didn't realize. I guess I didn't realize that dirt is just now. I didn't think about that. Dirt's just now kind of really getting into the TV market. But Smeal brought it up. Knoxville being live on Speed hurt ticket sales more than Dirt Vision or PPV would ever hurt it.
Did it actually though? Because they used to have massive crowds.
I think that's a good idea. I mean, if it's in its
infancy, even in the Speed days back in the mid 2000s, it was sold out. Right.
I mean, like these dirt. I think if it's in its infancy, these dirt people should look at your crown jewel races. Should do take the '90s WWF format. Your crown, your WrestleManias, your crown jewel races. Throw it pay-per-view. Throw a shit ton of production into it.
This was pay-per-view though. Right. It was like $150 just to buy the 4 days.
So So it's weird. I get what you're saying, but I think some of this, back to Jeremy's point, started with the tracks were so against it because hurt them. But also, to Jeremy's point, if I was on hose heads, one, I probably don't even read a thread about anything on the West Coast that wasn't outlaw related. And therefore would probably never go there if I went out there, because you don't even know what you're looking at. You don't have a visual. I think this being pay-per-view, though, Knoxville, they'll keep holding themselves to a different bar. They wanted added the live TV stuff because it hurt ticket sales from their side, even though they could do a blackout around it like Indy does with Indianapolis 500. So still being pay-per-view, it's still who's paying $150 to watch it? Like there's a limit there with how much streaming there is now. Like, have you guys?
They were talking during the broadcast like, oh, there's a lot of first-time dirt viewers with us. Really, who's paying? If you're a first-time dirt viewer, you're not paying $150 to watch this race. I mean, I guess the night of the main, it was like $50-$60, but still, that's $50-$60. You're not going to do that unless you're
A dirt fan, most likely.
Yeah.
Let's also do a comparison. You talked about the WWE and a pay-per-view. But on WWE, why would you be interested in buying a pay-per-view? Because you get to watch it on your cable network free for week after week after week after week. You didn't have to buy a subscription to watch the WWE all those weeks. Your parents, when you were a kid or as an adult, you're watching it every week that's available. Just click the station.
Mm-hmm.
To get right now, there isn't a big TV network that broadcasts all these outlaw races where they can then make a special race special and go pay for it. That you have to pay for a subscription to watch them at all.
The only exposure they get is on CBS Sports Network, and it's all months down the line, tape delayed.
Like in their off season,
and they show it at like 10 o'clock at night.
Like and right, because like for the reason I had the Knoxville Nationals because I had the Platinum Pass, which is like $300 a year. So it was like whatever.
The yearly one, you get Knoxville Nationals for free
with it versus right monthly. So if you're paying, so like Smeal has I think Dirt Vision, but he only has the monthly one, which used to be good enough to do whatever. And it was like that's what I had, and I already had the Platinum to get things like Knoxville. But you're paying $40 a month, and you get to Knoxville, you have to pay $150 for that package or upgrade to Platinum Pass. It's like, well, that's kind of shitty. And then Flow Racing on the other hand is $150. So if you have both, I don't know. It's rough.
You're lucky this could have been my rant section, but we were not going to get into that tonight. My rant section about it hurting local track attendance. But
oh, please fire off.
I don't know if I should, man. So
fire off.
Listen, first of all, I'm going to say TV, Flow Racing, Dirt Vision is not hurting your track attendance. You are hurting your own track attendance. I'm sick and tired of this argument that these entities are hurting track attendance, because if the tracks really cared about it, they would do a better job promoting their own racetrack and trying to get fans to get there versus saying, oh, we're so-and-so, they'll just show up. No, you're trash ass promoting and unwelcomeness toward fans and not having a reason for people to show up on a weekly show that means nothing is the reason fans aren't showing up. Your poor track prep, your dirty facilities, not up-to-date facilities, all of those things are the reason people aren't showing up, not Dirt Vision, not Flow Racing. If you want to get national exposure, those networks are going to do that for you. It is not keeping the local fan away. You are keeping your local fan away. I lived it this year. I've felt it this year more than ever personally, and I can see why people would not want to show up. They show up for the big races. Why? Because their friends do. You're doing nothing to attract new fans to the racetrack. You're terrible in social media. And I would say the best example of it in our local area is Port Royal Speedway. Port Royal Speedway has done a fantastic job with their facility, their engagement with their fans, their self-promotion. The promoters of the track have done an amazing job. These other tracks are going to die a slow death and blame it on TV networks when that's absolutely the wrong angle.
I know which ones you're talking about, and I totally agree.
I agree with you too. It's probably a story for another time. But when this all first started, I called a racetrack up there to try to get media passes for Chris and Jimmy.
Yep.
And the lady that I talked to was, in charge of this track, and pretty much like laughed me out the door and said a podcast isn't media. And we have our own media, and we have our own like racing subscription, and I mean, just was a complete asshole about it. And I was like, all right, well, Fuck these guys and the
Yep.
hell with that track.
Yeah.
And it was easier when I was just a fan and wanted to show up every week and watch my favorite driver race. But now that I want to go there as a little bit more involved. No, that was the wrong lady, probably Brett. I think, right? Is that the right
No,
lady or the wrong
that's probably the one Josh talked to.
That's the one Josh talked to.
Okay, I couldn't. Okay, fair enough.
I have no idea.
Yeah, you did. You know, getting a little bit behind the scenes this year. Not. I'm not even saying I have, but enough to realize that they're in their own way. They're set in their old ways. They have no idea what they're doing to attract the new fans. They're just hoping and praying people like me bring my kids to the track or invite my friends, whatever, to the track. Kids, they get into it, hoping that we do it. Listen, I don't want to bring anybody to that place and support it if they're going to treat people the way they treat people. And I've seen it all year long, and I will continue to see it. Now, some of the tracks, I've had the experience of how I was treated. Some of the tracks decide to not even clean the pavement in the pit area and have to water the dirt in the pit so it's not dusty. That's over asphalt. They don't even want to take care of their track, their facility, their track prep, their they do fireworks and think it's enough 13 times a year to bring people to the track and hold them over, and everyone sees right through it. It's a joke. So, they're their own worst enemies. It's not Dirt Vision and Flow.
Right.
That's my fire off segment.
I mean, I agree with
Yeah.
and debuting the new topic.
Debut it in the new segment, Fire Off. This is when one of us get heated. We're passionate about these sports, man. We're passionate about this shit. Sometimes you just need to fire off. You need to let it off your chest. This is the spot for us to do it, and this is the segment. It's called Fire Off. It's new.
And it was Jeremy's idea.
Anyway.
So it was perfect.
It worked out, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, what's
That
next?
came
Josh, how does
So,
that make you feel, Josh?
as you were talking about that, I think Smeal brought up a great point. There's a reason Steve O'Neill has won 4 to 5. I think it's 5 straight Promoter of the Year awards for Port Royal. And you said that was the one track you gave a shout out to because they're doing it right.
They are,
Right.
and I love going there. I've thanked Justin Snyder when I've left the track and said, man, you guys are doing the right things here, and they're welcoming. They want people to be there. They want their feedback, and they've done obvious improvements to that place, and it's paying off. And based on their attendance, even on a weekly show that isn't special, people are still showing up. So kudos to Port Royal Speedway.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking a lot of shit like they fell off and stuff like that because they weren't getting the attendance that they normally get. Beginning of the year, some of the weather was iffy. And that's the beauty of, I think, of streaming is like if the weather's iffy and they're still going to try to get it in, you got streaming at home that you could still do it. Port Royal's still making money. You still get the race in. The racers are making money still if they come out, and brave if it's iffy weather like that. I think that's one of the best things about it, but a lot of people are twisting that to be a negative.
Yeah, I agree. So that's sort of the Knoxville fire off segment there. PA Dirt recap. We had some unique racing this weekend. We had Big Diamond, Clinton County.
Yeah, you were there. You were there at Big D.
Big Diamond on Friday night, which was super cool. Got a media credential to get there. Not to get there, but to be able to shoot from the infield. That was super cool. So thankful to the Dirt Track Digest guys, Adam Buchanan, Jeremy Ellett at SprintCarUnlimited.com. Shot for those guys, and that was super fun. Great experience. Super privileged to have that opportunity. It was really cool. That was a unique facility for sure. That was my first time there, and it's if you've ever been to like Path Valley and you sit in the stands and look down at the track, that's kind of what this was. Everywhere around it was like higher than the track, and you look down.
I've been there since I was a little kid.
Shaped like a diamond.
Did
No wall in
you
the back
find
stretch.
the front stretch on your first try?
What was that?
Parking lot. The first stretch parking lot.
Well, kind of. I pulled in and it was right there.
Yeah. See, when I went there for the first time, I found the back stretch, not parking lot, the straightaway. Weird.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not
I don't
sure
know how
how
it did. GPS
pull in
took
and
me
it's
right
there.
No, the GPS took me through straight up coal piles. I'm navigating these things, saw like the lights.
It's in the middle of
and
the coal.
Boom, track. And
So
I'm like, shit. Like
Wow.
they do warm ups on the outside. They still do warm ups on the outside, or they do them on the track, like heating the motors.
They did it on the track because they put 39
Right.
million gallons of
So
water.
we were
on it.
there. There's a little like ring outside the track, and they would do it in there. I drove onto that ring right before that, so I'm glad that I was not 10 minutes later. That would have sucked. Cool story. That's all I got.
How long ago was this?
It's 2011, so that long ago.
So before GPS was real. Okay.
It was Garmin.
So,
yeah, put it on your window and shit.
Super cool place, and next I want to go again and really go different places to shoot the cars at, and there's some pretty cool little scenery that it would be fun to do. So that was really neat. Mark Smith picked up the win there. He's had a pretty good, like, quiet, sneaky 410 season. Hasn't had the results to show up, but has had speed. Lost the race at Williams Grove because the motor got hot. He's been leading some other places and had some good runs. Halligan finished second, I believe, in that one. So he had a really good run. Norris and Raymer were all there. But it was a fun little joint. They and Bert Wojo, I don't want to say his name right, but he got some extra money for the 358, 360 guys, and Highs finished one. And
saw you sponsored a little bit of that. Cheers to
threw
you.
a little bit of cash at that. Try to support. What was that?
This is my bedtime alarm, boys.
Oh, it sounded like a baby, like mobile thing.
Because my phone was up there. I never listened to it.
When have you gotten to bed before 1 a.m.?
I've had it forever. I just never listened to it. I just do that.
Threw up some extra money for the highest finishing 358, 360 guy, and it ended up being Chris Frank. He was super thankful.
Oof. My boy,
Oof did it. He ended up getting the money, and he took home almost $1,000 between his finishing position and the extra money raised. Yeah, so he was super thankful for that, and it was cool to support. It wasn't much, but any little bit helps, and that's why I go. I want to support the tracks and the racers, man, and it's cool when it all comes together. The track's happy to have you, and the racers are thrilled. So that was fun. And so what was after that? Big Diamond in Clinton County.
The Clit
County and Lincoln,
the old Clit and Lincoln Speedway. And
Clinton County, they had like 6 or 7 305 cars there, combined with the 360s and the 410s. You had all different forms of sprint cars.
Multi-class racing,
and there was some 305 guys that finished in the top 5 and the top 10. And they had enough for B main and everything. They got a good car count out there, and then Lincoln had over 30 cars. Troy Wagaman Jr.
My boy Troy, first career 410 win from 10th.
It was awesome, and he deserved one for sure.
He earned it, not deserved it. He earned it, right?
Off that bitch.
He's had a bunch of seconds this year and had some great runs against good weeks. And he started there. You mentioned 12th. He started 10th and actually said he fell back to 12th at the very beginning and had to get his head on straight and get his head out of his ass a little bit and go. And hey, look, you got to be in a position to create your own luck, right? The 1W was probably the best car most of that race with Robbie Kendall there, and they blew up their 49th engine in the last 2 years. So it seems like anyway, but Troy was there and was running good pace and kept up with him and took the lead and checked out. So shout out to Troy, man. He's had a great season. Magically their program has gotten way faster when they switched over to FK. Shock. So KH Suspension, Drew Bible, and those guys really hooked up Troy and got that thing hooked up. And little birdie told me that
Chirp.
Troy Givler.
Jordan.
Our boy Jordan Givler back there is going to be on FKs. So they just arrived, making a switch. So got that little bit.
Was that Birdie's name that starts DK?
D-Tune, Dakota Coon, baby.
Dakota Coon.
So he'll be on FKs, and that really helped Troy's program a lot this year. And they have a good piece together and got his first career win. And I think there's more coming, man. So super proud of him. Great dude. Been a fan. Been a friend of his for a long time. It was really cool to see. Really wish I was there, but yeah, we'll just go with that.
Dakota Coon and David Smil are like this. They are the best of friends. They love each other.
It was cool for Troy, like obviously being his first 410 win. I think he catches Kendall anyway. He was running him down. It would have been fun to watch them duel it out there at the end, even if the motor blows, and that's good for Troy. So, hell of a race.
I can't get over Chris has a bedtime alarm.
I know, right?
That one broke me.
Brett, we're holding you to it. Brett's going to be on the show next week. We're holding him to it right now.
Hey, awesome.
So we're going to bring him out. They got Silver Crown going on next week. He's also going to be racing Sportsman's at Bloomsburg. Fingers crossed, everything goes right. Awesome dude. He's the guy that you hear when you guys tune in at the beginning of the show. You hear him, Victory Lane, second place.
And you see him thanks to JT.
You see him thanks to Jeremy Zarfos over here. You hear him on his podium interview. Shout us out. Awesome guy, friend of the show. Great kid, great dude.
Big merch.
Awesome merch, the best merch.
We gotta wear the merch next week now, boys.
You guys really got to get on.
Jimmy wore it last week.
Yeah, you got to
wear it next week for sure.
Last week, I showed you guys it last week.
Gonna need George Wood.
All right, we got to get through a couple more topics here before we get done. We're already over 2 hours, so
this is fun.
I'm having a blast.
While you're figuring out the next topic, can we just point out that Smeal's gonna get his ass kicked by Dakota Coon if they ever sees him face to face? I don't know why.
Oh, Dakota Coon's gonna definitely beat.
I wouldn't fight that dude. Fuck that.
I would not. No.
I would not. I'd fight Smeal, but not Dakota.
Dakota's the type that'll dirty cheap shot you. I mean, he's that kind of guy.
Yeah, he is.
That's fine for Smeal. I wouldn't fight him though. I'd fight Smeal.
We've all eaten the right rear from Dakota.
I have not yet.
In a cartoon right rear from Dakota. At once or twice. So, are we trying to still sponsor last for Tuscarora 50? Yes, we are. Thanks for the reminder. I got a call this week. Let's get into the week ahead in dirt, and it's kind of a big deal here. Potentially, Kyle Larson, Brad Sweet started their new series, High Limit Racing. It kicks off tomorrow night at Lincoln Park Speedway in Illinois. $22,000 to win for a midweek show. They're the sanctioning body, so you're not going to see any outlaws there. They're not allowed to run it. But I already see Brent Marks commit. I seen Carson McCarroll commit. Pretty much all the All-Stars. Alex Bowman, Chase Briscoe. They're all running.
Sweet's not running it?
He can't.
Dumb.
Fuck the Outlaws. I said it. That's right. I don't want to get into another Firehouse segment, but fuck the Outlaws.
Good competition is good for anybody, and they need it.
Not the Outlaws, apparently.
That's what they think. That's what
NST tried that. Remember? Anybody old enough to remember NST?
This is
That's the one. Is that like the baseball league guys? The baseball symbol?
When Steve Kinzer defected, ran NST.
The Slick 50 or whatever was it?
The Nationals.
That was 50.
No, National. The
National.
It was like 07 range. Like Lasowski and those guys. A lot of those guys went over, and they had like the damn baseball MLB logo, but a sprint car instead.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Something like that, if I remember right.
It's has gone down in the annals of history, so
that was big news back
RIP. And then also Jackson Nationals this week, right? Jackson
Nationals, another 3-day show for this is an outlaw show. I don't know how many cars are going to get there. Maybe some. I know not. I know. I doubt it. I think he's going to come home. I mean, he's not going to go from Illinois back up to Minnesota, would he?
$100,000.
I feel like he.
Why would you not? I mean, Jeremy just said
he's been away. My thing is knowing how Brett's been this year and him picking and choosing his schedule. He's been away from home for 2 weeks. They're going to run this tomorrow night. I don't see any reason why you go back up to Minnesota to come back home, but I don't know.
$100,000.
You would know better than I would.
His face.
I could see, no, I don't know. Honestly, I don't remember looking at the schedule. I'm not sure what he's doing, but I don't see any reason he would need to come home unless they're out of equipment.
And the All-Stars, but it's not that much money comparatively.
It's $25,000 to win. It's still a pretty decent payday.
Right.
I mean, tomorrow night is $22,000 to win for just a normal.
What's going on with PA this weekend?
PA is just everybody's just kind of getting back to normal. Grove will run, Port Royal will run, Lincoln will run, just kind of regular shows. And you got the All-Stars starting to come in next week. So
Lance DeWeese running Bridgeport next week. Not to jump ahead, but I saw that drop today.
Oh no shit.
With the All-Stars. That's kind of surprising.
Why wouldn't you run
a weekday show?
Man?
Thursday night, yeah.
So next week is Bloomsburg Wednesday, Bridgeport Thursday, Williams Grove Friday, Lincoln Saturday.
Hold on.
Bedford
next Wednesday.
Next already. That's what I'm saying. That's why I think Brett comes home. Maybe they try to get. Yeah. So you got Bloomsburg. It's 5 days in a row. Bloomsburg, Bridgeport, Grove, Lincoln, Bedford on Sunday. So, and then the week after that is already Labor Day weekend, and you get into Tusky 50. They go, All-Stars go to Sharon, and then they come back for Tusky 50.
Might have to make a trip to Bloomsburg again, boys. The old
Goddamn
All-Stars.
FDS. I wish Chris Lynn over here would make his ass up here, give his balls a tug and make his way over to Bloomsburg, but it's okay. He was here one time already.
I wish I could go to Bloomsburg again. It's a sweet place.
I'm going back on Thursday. I'm hoping they completely resurfaced the track since the last time the All-Stars were there earlier this year. And I'm going Thursday, hopefully, for the rescheduled fan appreciation night where we get to see some 305s and 360s and some midgets run there and try to see what the new track looks like. It's not like brand spanking new, but when I was there during the rain delay, it looks like they did a little bit to turn 1 and they added a little bit of banking in turn 4, which I think is exactly what people were asking for, especially drivers.
That's what I really wanted to see.
Yeah, a lot of people complain about turn 1, but I think turn 1 is such a problem because of the way turn 4 was. I think if they have more speed that they can carry out of turn 4 and get into turn 1, it's going to make it wider. That's just my opinion. I'm not a driver. I'm not a crew chief. I'm none of that. I'm just a fan. But yeah, so that's the week ahead. Jackson Nationals. We'll see how many cars they get. 3-day show, 25 to win on Saturday. Should be interesting. Let's get quick into the iRacing stuff. We had the Full Throttle League last week. I did not make it because I was sleeping.
I was not there either.
Chris wasn't there. Yeah, that's right. Josh and Kirby, you guys had great runs. Tell us about it. Josh, you go first.
Jeremy, I think probably. You
were second and fourth, right?
Yeah, second and fourth. I probably should have had a third. I was running Kyler down and probably saved a little bit too much. I got done with my run and had like 50-something% left on my tires. So, but it's so hard to know how much to save and how much to leave. But I think Jeremy had the 3 weeks in a row, the first or second fastest car, and got results with it this time. So had a hell of a run.
It was fun. I like that place. I like the mile and a half. I like the tire wear stuff. So for whatever reason, the tire saving is natural to me. I was really hyped about Richmond, even though I'm kind of trash at the smaller tracks. I was pretty hyped about it, and I just made self-induced mistake, but it was still top 3 speed, I think. I ran second again to William Brown here, and I got within a second of him on that long run, and I think him and I were kind of the class of the field at the end of that deal there. We were 3-4 seconds ahead, or maybe more at the end of that. And I ran Kyler down and passed Kyler and walked away once I did. And William Brown and I were at about the same speed again and ran second to him. So I'm going to have to wreck him. I think it's what's going to have to happen.
Give him the old Chastain special, bud.
I'm not going to continue to run second to anybody. I don't care who they are. So we're at Iowa this week, and it's a short track, and sometimes you just push a little too hard, and things happen. So
I love Iowa.
I ran a few. I ran some practice.
I wish it would really get on the Cubs schedule. I'm sorry.
I agree. It's a fun track. It seems really fast, but it's slow. It's a short track with a lot of speed, especially early in the run. The cars are really fast, but after about 20 laps, they fall off pretty hard.
Yep.
It's literally the polar opposite of Richmond. It's like the anti-Richmond.
It really is. It has bumps in the bottom of 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2. You can run it up off the bottom. You can run the middle. Super looking forward to Iowa. We'll see how we go this week. But what I see for Iowa, dive bomb city. People are going to there's going to be tempers this week. More than I think any other week, just because I think like if I'm a guy who's good at saving tires, and you're going to have some of these guys who aren't, I'm going to be laying up early in the corner where they're going to be just dive bombing it, and there's going to be some heated some tempers. I'm telling you now.
That's pretty much
tires. Are tires going to matter? Yeah, I was say it's going to be an old school NSRL race where tires might not matter because there's so many cautions.
Right.
And that's the hard part about it.
Right. We do have less tires. That's a good thing.
Oh, you bastards.
Right. Less tires. If it goes green, I think we have a great shot. I really do. I can't compare the speed to anything else, but it felt great to me. We'll see. But no,
I think as a team we've been really good about saving tires and having very good long run cars. Except for plows down. So when Jeremy was talking about dive bombs, Smills plows down this week, so we know that. But everybody else, we've been really good at being able to save our cars and have some pretty decent long run speed. I heard it through the grapevine. We do have Brig Swope and this week, and if there is somebody that I know that is incredible on long run,
it's Brig Swope.
Brig Swope can run some long run cars. So
good.
We'll have some more.
What's bringing them our way? What made that go down?
Oh, who knows? Who knows?
Fair enough.
That's fine. We're gonna lose a Smil and gain a Swope. I'm in.
That's progress right there. That's how you get a new league.
Things are looking up, boys.
Yeah.
And then even better, Jeremy, if you're going to Bloom, all you're gonna miss is the All-Star race. It won't even cost you any points. I know you care so deeply about that.
Oh, that's perfect.
So perfect. Maybe I'll go to Bloom now.
Oh.
I still can't go to Bloom.
Yeah, no, Vegas was fun, man. It was a good time. It was it's a challenging track. It was a challenge. Corners are different both ends. Try, and like Josh said, the perfect answer was like not knowing how much to save for how long until it was go time, and hoping the guy in front of you fell off enough that you had enough left. And it was just it's a guess. And I think the car actually felt better for me late in that race. I don't know if it was temperature. I don't know if it was rubber. I don't know what felt different, but the car was, a little, to me, it swung loose during the first run, first part of that race. That last half of that race, man, the balance was perfect. I don't know if I just did something different in tires, saved something better, but that thing was a rocket ship at the end. And it's been fun. It's been fun to do so far. Jimmy is back. What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm back.
Are you racing this week? Are you going to race?
I plan on it.
You're going to stay awake?
Yeah, I'll stay awake this time, hopefully.
Okay.
We're not doing the podcast on a Tuesday.
What else
I was napping before that race, too.
For iRacing. What else?
Well, we got tomorrow night, we got Posse, like always, just another regular show.
We're going to go to Lernerville again?
Lernerville.
Yeah, we're at Lernerville. One of the last regular shows of the year there.
God.
DOB, though, Dirty Old Bastards, 360 Nationals start tomorrow night. A lot of us are entered on Tuesday night. It's going to be interesting. We also it started tonight, the iRacing Knoxville Nationals. So it's going to be Knoxville fever here still for another week on iRacing. 360 Nationals. It's 360 Nationals, and they're doing Ironman 55 over the weekend, and then going into the big nationals next week. That's Dirty Old Bastards. Great league, partner league to the Posse League.
Quasi.
Quasi partner league. They're basically our outlaws to our Posse. It's an awesome little partnership. It's awesome. There's already over 100 people entered. So there's 50 cars each night, which is pretty wild. We pretty much have the same amount. This is for 360 Nationals. Starting tomorrow night, so it's pretty awesome. Great event that they put on. What are you guys feeling about your chances? I'm hoping I just make the B main.
Not feeling good, Josh.
0. I have 0% chance.
You're not running.
Pretty sure I made the A last year in the 360 Nationals and the 410 Nationals. Raced that league a long time, but I have not been on Knoxville in a long time, and I'm hearing that the wonky ass broken iRacing setups are what you need early, which I'm not a big fan of at all. That much percent, like Josh gave me, 0% liking that shit. So if I can get through time trials and get a good decent start in a heat race, I think I like my shot at it, but we'll see. You never know.
Chris?
There's no expectations here. I've been running good at Knoxville in the 410 anyway. I mean, we raced in an official thing, but Knoxville's not one of those places that I historically do well at. I'm good at not wrecking there. I'm just not fast. But I think I maybe hit on some stuff that I was missing. But DOB, they're so tough. The field's tough. It's a tough field, right? So that's the point of it. That's what makes it fun, and it's what intrigues me to want to go do it. If I somehow weasel my way into the A main on Thursday, probably just going to drink myself to death during the race. Because I'm going to finish 24th anyway, so I might as well just. It's going to be rough. I'll be happy to be any of the A mains, to be honest.
Yeah,
Jimmy,
though.
what are you looking at going into it?
Like I said, I hope I just kind of make the B main. I'm not great at Knoxville. Not honestly the biggest fan of Knoxville in real life or on iRacing.
I witnessed the other day. Yes.
Yeah, I just don't think I think the track's a little overrated. I do think it's a nice track, don't get me wrong and all that, but I just don't run very well there. I ran one official this past week. Me and Chris were the 1 and 2 cars. I think I finished fourth.
You finished fourth. I got black flag because of some gypsy moth.
We're basically
Knoxville.
third and fourth, and
we were basically running there. We couldn't go anywhere, and then when the one restart, a guy passed me on the outside and then hit the brakes. So I got black flag. I'm like, you're.
But yeah, that sucked. But either way, it was hammered down until about 12 to go, and
right.
Once it slicked off, it got fun because then you really had to hit that cushion right, just like in real Knoxville, or there's no bottom line though.
Choppy.
I don't know. That's the only thing. It's nice when there's a bottom line that comes in. But yeah, I'm just looking to have some fun. Just not really going in with any expectations or anything. Just really the only reason I'm running is because all you sons of bitches are running it, and I'm gonna feel left out. So.
I think the best part is the no mirrors thing. I love running the no mirror thing when I know everyone else isn't running a mirror because they're looking out for you. Unlike if I was doing it on the official, I know I'm going to get truck sticked. So,
yeah. How do you know they're not running no mirrors?
You don't.
You'll know. You don't, but you'll know.
Gentleman's agreement.
But you can usually tell if someone's running a mirror.
Right.
To some degree.
And they just don't want no mirror driving. Like that's really.
You can tell when I'm running a mirror because I can't hear shit. So.
What the hell?
I'm moving the hell out of the way, so I can't hear there's a car there. So I'm using the mirror. So if I see someone running me down or in the top, once they pass me, I'm just driving to the bottom before they even get there. I'm not getting in their way. I'm doing the opposite, saving my race car. But I can't hear a car really well. I'm not good at that yet. Fun fact.
Well, that's going to take care of it for iRacing this week. We're going to get into our final segment here. Drink it or dump it. That's right. Drink it or dump it. Look at the fancy new logo. Basically, this is the segment where we all go around round table, and we want to hear from you guys all still out there hanging out with us. Who are you cheersing to this week, and who are you pouring one out for? From the racing weekend, could be for many, just in general from the racing weekend. Let's go with Chris first. Chris, who are you drinking it and who are you dumping it?
So who wants to go and just get the Donnie shots off the board? Like, just take it away.
I thought about it, but I think I'm going to go with the dump it first. Tyler Reddick. Oh my God. Such a shit day on Sunday. And it's the first, it's not a big deal, obviously. It's the first one all year. I think he's been basically a non-factor from the drop of the green.
He literally from the start of the green, he spun out.
And then it was just, what a bad day. So I'm guessing they're trying something. It just didn't go well. Winner, Don, easy pick. But
yeah,
how cool if you're Tasker Phillips to put it in and show at your home race. That's big to me. Like a local guy. That's our PA posse in Knoxville putting in a big dance. That's my drink it up. Like drink it right there. Tasker Phillips.
Tasker Phillips.
For just putting it in the show, because his expectations going to that week is not to win it. Sure, that's the dream and the goal, but a guy like that is just there.
Tasker Phillips he's a full-time farmer,
right? And just doing
local, made it into the show on his prelim night.
It is as cool as one of when Brock Zierfrost beat the Outlaws at Williams Grove before he was a full-time outlaw. It's like that guy. It's not a full-time racer. Puts it in the biggest show. His week's made, his year's made. But being in the show,
Cinderella story.
Right. It's.
Yeah.
Skipped the low-hanging Donnie shots for.
Yeah. FDS over here. I'm about to fire off here.
Oh, here we go. New logo change.
Logo change. This son of a bitch. We ask. This is a winner loser segment. What do we want to name it? He comes up with drink it or dump it. It catches on. It's a pretty damn good name. It's one reason why we had him on the show last week. He's in the
So
chat.
he sometimes have good ideas.
He's so called. Yeah, he somehow
He's in the chat though. Loser or winner?
losers. You're the one that came up. You came up with
I
the
saw that.
Figure it out.
Figure it out, bud. Use the right nomenclature.
I have a new loser this week.
Yeah. It's not loser. You're dumping it out.
The literal
Loser.
segment is
Brand. Stick to the brand. It's literally his brand. It's literally his.
He
No,
came
important.
up with it.
Drink it or dump it. Fucking
guess you
dump
trademarked
Steele.
it now. Too late, dum dum. I just patented it. Trademarked.
So Smeal's going with Donnie Schatz and Kyle fucking Busch as his loser. Those are good ones. Those are good ones.
You would take the low hanging fruit.
This son of a bitch. Hold on. Logo change. I will fight you up.
Can we just let Jeremy or Josh go?
All right, Jeremy,
Go,
Jeremy.
You're wasting the fire off segments.
I'm struggling with the dump it, but I think I just figured it out. But Drink It is the fans this weekend. Local Pennsylvania fans got to see Troy Wagaman and Billy Dietrich win races.
Yeah.
A mains that they're both definitely crowd favorites, and that was, if you're going to have a week where the quote unquote big guys are gone, which they weren't, they just didn't either race or didn't make the A main at Knoxville. Billy Dietrich and Troy Wagaman Jr. winning races. Crowd favorites. The underdogs per se, that's definitely my Drink It. My dump it, I feel like this is a tough one, man. There's a few, but nothing that just like jumps out at me here. Knoxville there wasn't anything that crazy surprised me who didn't make it. We talked about that. It's easy to pick out a NASCAR guy for that, but Reddick was a good one. But
If you want to take Reddick, I have another dump it.
I think the dump it is and it's not even like a shot here. It's just like PPM, man, that injury and what he's going through this year, and not saying dump it. Not saying it, dump it in a negative way that he did something wrong here. Was like loser dummy of the week, but man, just a tough deal, man, for sure.
Yeah, that sucks. It sucks. He's
Is he
more ways
second?
than one.
Is he second in the All-Star points, or where's he at? Or what was he at All-Star points?
I think he's back further than second.
Not far. Courtney,
So
maybe
Because Peck has to be right there.
Courtney Peck, Schoenberg, PPM, Zeb.
PPM missed a couple of races
Right.
in the beginning of the season.
that's right. That's right.
So,
I can see
yeah,
that.
Drink the dump it. This is what I was saying. This is why I was firing off on Spiel. It's not just a winner and loser. It's like, who do you want to give a shout out positive to, and who do you want to dump? It could be pour one out for the homie, or it could be you suck, man. It could be whatever. So, Josh, you go next.
Okay, so my Drink It is Ty Gibbs. Going to Richmond, the week, getting the week after he's on the podcast talking about like how he looks up to Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson and like all of this stuff, getting to rub fenders with them and get experience with the people he grew up watching race. Like, not many racers are ever going to get that opportunity, and he did it and he capitalized on it. And he made a good impression. So that's my Drink It. My Dump It. After the Full Throttle Richmond race,
Okay.
going back and looking at the replay, there was a guy that we saw that had an incident on the last lap that affected some people on the stuff. And he was having a lot of trouble getting his car to turn. And after looking at the replay, don't know how many laps, but for more than one lap, a couple laps, they were running around Richmond with a flat.
I thought it was Vegas. You guys were at Vegas.
It was Vegas.
It was Vegas.
Vegas. Sorry.
Same thing.
It's Richmond.
It took me way too long to figure out where he was going with this.
Right tire. Running around the racetrack with a flat right tire. And then got in the way and wrecked a lead lap car going to the finish. It's David Spiel's my Dump It.
It took me when he said Richmond, he made me so thrown off. I'm like, what the hell is he going on about?
I know it.
And then the more I listened to him, I'm like, oh, I know where it's going.
I almost forgot about this. This would have been my fire off because I was so mad as it was that night with how that could have been avoided. Oh my God. I was so mad and trying to help and be like, hey, look, man, look, this is how you can avoid this. This is, let me try to help you. And then he wanted to blame it on literally the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, the cars on the track, the wall was too close, my car wouldn't turn. I had it turn 190 degrees. None of that was his fault. And then finally got around to it and went, everyone's yelling at me. Okay, I said, I'm sorry. Okay. And then we find out the goddamn tire was flat for 4 laps. Are you kidding?
We go look at the replay, and all you hear is thump, 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 thump.
Going 130 miles an hour, wondering why the car won't turn magically. And then going, well, no, looking at the cars behind me. Well, no shit. You have no regard for the other cars on the track. Clearly, your history has told us that.
We need the other one. Oh, my God.
Well done, Josh.
That was great. I love it. FDS. FDS till we die. That is why. That in a microcosm right there. If people outside of our circle here, why do you guys say FDS? That is
it's someone who does shit like that.
A guy who does
that. Anybody.
A guy.
Boy, girl, donkey, whatever.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have to pull this up too real quick. A guy who does this. Championship 4.
His teammate.
Championship 4.
His teammate while the teammate's in the championship 4.
You run an entire season, championship 4. He was a lap down, wasn't he?
No. Well, he was until the caution came out.
He was. He got all excited. He was on the lead lap again.
He got his lucky dog off that.
It's green, white, checkered, championship 4. Are running 1 through 4. Chris was one of them. Smeal's out of it. What does he do in the final lap?
Says Chris went in the corner too slow.
Right there. Right there, ladies and gentlemen. FD. Figure it out, bud.
All right.
We need that thing like flashing.
It's Jimmy's turn.
So, might drink it. I'm going to drink it for 2 people. I'm going to split them. I'm going to do half. Chris Buescher and Eric Almirola, I thought they had absolutely amazing runs this past week. Chris Buescher has been impressing. Eric Almirola, half because he carried my DraftKings team, even though I didn't win any money, but he was awesome. He really just missed it in qualifying, and he was definitely one of the fastest cars out there. He's really helping that Stewart Haas team come around. Briscoe got the win earlier in the year. Harvick has really turned it around here the past 2 months. Obviously got the back-to-back wins. It's huge.
Put that last comment on the screen. Leave it up forever.
There it is. You know what?
FDS.
Yeah, just go ahead and keep talking. Leave it up and just.
So anyway, I want to give Eric Almirola a shout out. The guy's last year, supposed to be in the last year of his career. Obviously, that's not going to happen.
Doesn't sound like that's
He's got to stay in there. Cole Custer's been struggling. That whole team was struggling for a good part of the year.
Bring up the FDS again. I gotta do this. There it is. There it is. All right, thank you.
It's
actually just gonna be a sticker coming now.
So, yeah, I want to give them the shout out. They both had very great runs. Chris Buescher is really coming on. Good for him. It's good to see some of these guys up there. Chris Buescher is definitely a guy that has a lot of talent, and it's good to see that team come around. And Almirola's always been kind of underrated to an extent, but never really did anything in that car too much. So it's good to see him really run well. If it is his last season, if it's not, whatever. Might dump it. I got to do it, homies.
Do it. What are you doing? Wow.
BZ3, man. It was tough. That totally ruined my Nationals. As a fan, as a viewer, I mean, I don't, like I said, I put 60-40 on blame on him. I knew what he was doing. I think everybody did. You're running for the Knoxville Nationals. It was just such a bummer because I don't know. I really thought he was definitely. I made the bold prediction last week that he was going to make it on his prelim night. He missed the invert totally. He qualified for 41st and missed it by one spot.
I think even at one point, didn't I ask you how Harley White and McKenna Haase have more points than him?
Yeah, you did, and
That was me.
It pained me. It pained me. So Brock definitely
No
had.
offense, those girls are badass. No offense.
Yeah, for sure. And Brock definitely had the speed too. I think he went out pretty late in his qualifying.
So,
I'm not making excuses, but
just to clarify,
he definitely had the speed there to get up into the top four, and he kind of pulled himself out of it.
The only outlaw behind Brock was Craig Kenzer. Is that accurate?
No, Bill Rose.
He doesn't stop it. Bill Rose is a wild. He's got head issues.
No. Now we're gonna do a but for everybody. Okay.
Casey Keynes ran like 4 races all year.
It was Brock. It's fine.
Did
Noah Gas beat him?
No, he didn't actually. Noah Gas did not beat him, so he's behind him.
Oh, there we go.
Did he lose the fight afterwards?
He
wasn't really in the fight. Oh, I want to dump it. I want to dump it to Brock's, I'm pretty sure, girlfriend.
Oh, don't put this on
social media. Guess what? Too late.
No, you're there too.
And then the same guy goes and interviews him immediately after, and Brock's there for it. I will cheers him on that. You know what I mean? Just I thought that was I liked the fire in him, even though if he was wrong. But I just a bad Nationals for him. That was his worst Nationals out of all the times he's been going there. So yeah, dump it out for Brock Fuss.
Dump it out.
Good
It's the
shit,
worst thing
boys.
you can say. Don't put this on social media.
It's over.
Yeah,
Like,
Don't put
me
it
in
on social media.
Like put me on like a driver's seat. Like don't push that button. Like it's happening.
I understand what you were saying though. It's kind of ridiculous. You have this big goofball in overalls who's been sitting up in the grandstands.
Just
Those are the
remember-
ones you got to watch out for. Those are
And
the
it's
ones
down
you
in
gotta
your
worry
pit area harassing you.
Who's the
In
goofball in Iowa? In Mill Cornfields, the guy in overalls makes sense. Everyone else is weird.
I know,
would've
That's
killed
what I'm
Brock
saying.
but I'm
and
saying
ate him.
he's definitely not a crew member, so get the fuck out of his business. But whatever.
I don't know.
It is what it is. That's what makes sprint car racing great, is that the drivers are so accessible for you to talk shit to.
Says the guy that yells at Christopher Bell every time he flips by.
Christopher Bell's a bitch. I'll stand by that forever. So
Whatever. We're gonna wrap
Was the
this thing up.
Swindell car the best appearing car?
It
yes,
was.
100%.
I mean, it won the award. Yes,
Yeah, it should. It should have. It was very nice.
but Christopher Bell wasn't in it, so that's probably why it won.
That's why it was better. That's
In
why
Jimmy's opinion.
Justin Sanders locked it. Let's be real, guys. I mean, I'm not trying to take anything away from anybody. When we're talking format, Justin Sanders locked into the top 16. Get the fuck out of my face.
It's good to see that Swindell figured it out. Finally.
Well,
after
I mean,
being-
for a while
True.
until it didn't. But
It worked until it didn't. All right. Anything else?
no, man.
I got one more thing, real
Ooh.
quick.
Oh,
Yeah. I agree.
That's it.
Can confirm.
hey, appreciate you having me again, boys. Good
Hey,
time, man.
thanks
Love
for
you guys.
coming
Thank
out.
you.
Thank you all so much for subscribing.
week.
Thank you guys all for listening. Thank you all for hanging out with us. We'll be up. This will be up on Spotify. If you're listening on Spotify, thank you so much for giving your time to us and hanging out. And we want to hear. Comment on the video. Come hang out with us next week. We want to hear your drink it or dump it. We want to get you guys involved, so you guys make this thing go around. So thank you all for hanging out with us for the 2 hours and 38 minutes that we've been on the air. So
We were trying to keep it shorter this week. What happened?
know it.
We were there. Had a good pace.
I was trying to
and
keep us going, man. Like
you were.
trying to keep because I'm part of the problem for sure.
No,
The key is
We
Brett
also
Perrigo next week.
Brett Perigo next week.
Brett Perrigo next week. Jeremy back next week. Coming back next
Hey,
week.
if y'all want me to have, I'll sit here and listen in and chime in here and there. If y'all want, I will be here.
We can arrange.
Oh, by the way, earlier comment from who was it? I won't tell you who it was. Where's he at? Rip the Cushion. That is Tyson Landis from Wicked Cushion, Brent Mark Sim Team. So Tyson was listening in. Appreciate Tyson listening. KR, I think, was doing a broadcast tonight, so he wasn't able to listen live. So I'm sure he'll check in and listen to it a little bit. And, even though the show's long, like I love this, so people could just segment and listen to a little bit, come back, listen to it. They don't need to sit here and listen to 2 hours and 40 minutes straight through. Because I mean, if I was on the other side of it, I love y'all, so I would. But like the casual fan could be like, hey, I'm not a NASCAR guy. I want to hear the dirt stuff, right? I'm not a dirt guy. I want to hear the NASCAR stuff. So, there's enough content, enough stuff to listen to and have an opinion. And hopefully these folks will come back and comment and keep it moving.
Yeah. Thank you all very much. Really,
Side note, Wicked Cushion, absolutely incredible branding. It's Australian and dirt. Nailed it. Like, that is the coolest, like, Australian, like, incredible.
Wow. We're going to get out of here. Clearly, the Heinekens has gotten to his head. Sleep deprivation has taken over.
No, I think that was right. So.
I mean,
Wait, what part was right? What are you talking about?
Wicked Cushion.
I just like it.
What's Australian about it?
Oh, wicked!
It's wicked. It's wicked.
Oh.
Are they from Australia?
No. So,
Ooh, I see why there's confusion now.
very much. I'm closely tied into this brand, so
I thought they were. I just assumed they were Australian because all the Australians in dirt like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Wicked pisser.
So it's an apparel brand. That's what it started.
You
at.
almost nailed it.
Hoodies,
Wicked Cushion almost nailed it.
okay. And it was sold to support race teams, right? And that's how it kind of got going. It went into Wicked Energy Gum, Wicked Relief Gum, went into a few different things.
Which Wicked Relief Gum, I think they sponsored Casey Kane.
Wicked Energy Gum was supposed to, it was orange and black, and that was right when NOS signed, and World of Outlaws screwed that whole deal up. Very similar to the Rico Abreu issue with Rowdy Energy. So remember I mentioned that in the Discord about that was a Wicked Cushion thing. The Wicked Energy Gum was an issue. So Matthew Henniger, which you probably haven't seen him in the circles, Matt Henniger comes out to DOB, some posse stuff. He is the founder, owner of Wicked Cushion, and got tied in with their group in iRacing is kind of how it all started. I got into the UWU race team on iRacing early on with Chris Brenner and Michael Sheridan and KR. They were all on that team, and Wicked Cushion was just getting going, and they were all Wicked Cushion sponsored with Matt Henniger, and it kind of grew and grew and grew, and things have kind of fizzled a little bit, but that group is still alive. So and that's been spinoffs of that. We had the Dave Blaney Sim team, the Casey Kane Sim team early on, now the Brent Mark Sim team, and like the Elbows Up guys who like Billy Rowley and a couple of those guys are all kind of under this Wicked Cushion umbrella. So we have a group chat on Facebook, the Wicked Cushion guys, and a hell of a group of guys. And that's kind of what Wicked Cushion is. It's not as prominent right now in the circles. Matt took a step back a little bit, but he's still out there. Hell of a nice guy, Matt Henniger. So, and he sponsors some real cars. He has his name on Michael Millard's car. I question that decision, but hey, it's his money, not mine.
He was leading the other day.
He led a lot of that.
He had a good race. And then Kyle Keene. He sponsored Kyle Keene, Chris Verda out in Ohio. At times, Carl Bowser in Western PA. He sponsored a little bit over the years. So,
hey, maybe he sponsors Turn 2 Terribles here in the future. You never know.
Still a great name.
Big sponsor with SprintCarUnlimited.com. He sponsors the segments on there. So,
Which
definitely still involved a little bit.
Shouts out to SprintCarUnlimited.com. Jeremy Elliott is the official vice president to me of the Sheldon Hodden Shield Haters Club. It's official. It's a joke. It's a joke. That's Jeremy Elliott. I love what he does over there.
But that's a little bit about Wicked Cushion. It is very American, but you'll see guys in Australia running it because they're related to these people. We're all one big iRacing. It's kind of an iRacing community, kind of a group there like Craig Dunn.
Craig Dunn.
He runs the 57. Yep.
He's
that group. Living in the future
Maybe that's
in Australia.
why I thought it. He was in the chat last week, wasn't he?
Probably.
Yes, he was in the chat.
That's why. Okay. All right.
Yep. Craig Dunn is our Australian brethren.
I feel like Craig got profiled. with Wicked Energy Gum or Wicked Cushion or whatever.
Well, I mean, kind of a little bit, right? But a lot of us don't run Wicked Cushion as a prominent on our cars anymore. Like Brent Mark's Sim team, right? We all run the kind of the Brent stuff, so you don't see as much Wicked Cushion because they kind of branched out and have done other things. But I think Craig runs WC on top of his top wing, and it's yellow, so I think it's pretty prominent. You'll see it there. So that's probably
Don't you
where
have WC on your top wing?
it's
the
on
center?
there. Yeah.
It's black. It's red and white though, isn't it? The match
It's black,
car.
red, and white typically. Yeah, I can't remember where it's at on my car right now, but yeah, for sure. Anyway,
Cool.
that's
That's fine.
another
Shouts out,
20 more
to the
minutes.
brand.
Well,
might be the-
sorry
that might be
sorry to Wicked Cushion.
That might be the smartest segment we've had all night, boys.
It definitely is.
Oh God,
Right,
Griffey's
we
here.
go on.
Shut it down.
All right, time to go. Griffey's here. You're gonna get the show banned if you don't get out of here right now.
Austin Griffey, before we go, give us your drink it or dump it for the weekend, real quick.
Oh.
You got about 5 seconds.
You asked for this.
Give us your drink it
He
or
doesn't
dump.
even know what the segment means.
Probably more than Smeal.
Yeah,
That's
probably.
true.
And Smeal came up with the name. Give
Either
it.
way. So I'll wait for him. Brett
Hold on.
Brett Perigo next week. Oh.
My what?
Yeah, FAG.
We'll teach you for next time.
Oh.
Oh, you. What?
Give us your drink it or dump it,
Oh,
Austin Griffey. Give us your drink it or dump it. Give us a guy that you thought was good from this past weekend, and give us a guy that you thought
or just a general topic. What was great? What was
good, what was bad, what was good, what was bad this weekend.
Drink it or dump it. Underage edition. Your milk.
Underage,
Drink it
yeah. What are you drinking milk?
Or your
to? What are you
Pepsi,
dumping
boys.
your milk?
Pepsi with real sugar.
Austin Griffey, newly 18 years old.
with real sugar.
He's
Real
finally
sugar.
able to watch the podcast. Don as is drink it. Fair.
Well,
fair. I like it.
His dump it should be me yelling at him in posse last night why he was being an idiot, but it wasn't him. It was just another white pink car.
Griffin
I was
finished
not-
second last night.
Oh, I was so hot. Oh,
Nope. I'm out. I'm out.
there it is. There it is.
I don't.
And with that, we
At
are out.
this one, we're out. We
Brett
are.
Perigo next week. Jeremy, hopefully you're
Here
back.
it goes next
Do it
week,
again.
and we're not going to say that on the air, but you can read it for yourself.
Nope, that's how
Austin
you get
Griffey, God
canceled.
bless you. Give some love to Grandma Griffey for me.
She's looking for us, by the way.
Griffey's a real one, bro.
Yeah, for real.
I gave her the old at Williams Grove a few weeks ago, the old heart through the
So does
fence.
she, Griffey.
I was in the infield and she was on the backstretch and she gave it back to me. She's a real one.
Yeah, she's determined to go see Watermelon Lake Miles at Williams Grove this week. Hell or high water, she said.
Oh yeah,
Because it's been only rain out. She's like, I'm going. I'm like, I don't know. She goes, if you're not there, I'm going to kick your ass. I'm like, whoa. She asked where my boyfriend was. And apparently Alex has been missing too.
I might go to that too.
Yeah, I thought it was you too, but apparently it's Alex. Weird.
strange. Shouts out Alex Robinson. Renegades of Dirt were in North Carolina this week. I'm not really sure how it went, but I just
Did
know
he go?
he,
He
was
was
there.
there.
North Carolina?
He was there.
His truck made it?
Yeah, his truck made it.
He said about renting a car. I wonder which one he did there.
All right, we got to get out of here.
All right, we gotta go.
Closing on
See ya,
3
boys.
hours. Remember, FDS. Thanks a lot, guys, for checking us out.
We out.
Tonight's second place finisher. Plenty of fans here, Brett, and a solid second place finish.
Yeah, I got to shout out the Turn 2 Terror Boys over there. They're all a bunch of good guys to hang out with, talk to. I really like them.